Chapter 2340. Second Brother. Second Brother. Big Brother Whitebrook and Third Brother Gwashipin's expressions changed. Their sneak attacks had always been successful, and they had seen those idiots lose their heads out of fear with their own eyes. But now, the result was completely different. Hua! Whitebrook's domain appeared, and his body shone with white light. Facing a powerful and unknown enemy, he took the initiative to release his domain to protect himself. His reaction was fast, but it was too selfish. Second Brotherly Feng, the main attacker, had been killed, and Third Brother Gwashirpan had followed closely behind. Every second counted, so how could he have time to release his domain? Chi! 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 Lin Feng had already attacked, and the fourth gear of the magic wrist was activated. His eyes were full of killing intent. He had already comprehended the power of the nightmare demon to perfection, and it was terrifying. The light and darkness bloodlines intertwined, and the Bermuda Triangle, which had killed Li Feng, flew in a perfect arc toward the nearby Whitebrook. Lin Feng's attacks were incisive, and he attacked Gwashirpan with all his strength. Clang! Gwashipin's innate ability was fully displayed. The giant turtle shell behind him lit up with gray patterns, and the image of a dragon turtle appeared in the air. Its sturdy defense blocked Lin Feng's attacks again and again, but it was gradually becoming exhausted. If one kept defending, they would definitely lose. Moreover, Lin Feng's attacks had already surpassed that of an ordinary low divine master. Fifth gear. Lin Feng erupted with all his strength, not giving Gwashirpan any chance to recover. He quickly finished the battle, and he gathered all his fierce and ruthless attacks to shatter the giant turtle shell that was as steady as a rock. Gwashirpan cried out in pain, and his body staggered. He was not good at attacking, and he was unable to counterattack in the face of such a disadvantage. He was hit until his head spun, and he was dizzy. Don't hurt my third brother. Whitebrook charged over like a rhinoceros, his horn flashing with a dazzling luster. The power of the domain increased exponentially, and it was practically invincible. The domain's power, especially, completely restricted Lin Feng's movements. It was majestic and unstoppable. Whitebrook's strength was undoubtedly the strongest of the three brothers, and he was extremely tyrannical. However, at this moment, a long scroll suddenly appeared in Lin Feng's hand. It was clear and transparent, like the starry sky of the universe. On top of it was a huge star with 9 neatly arranged planets. 10-star alignment. Lin Feng tossed out the painting scroll. In the instant that his eyes lit up, the painting scroll covered Whitebrook, bringing him into the endless starry skies of the universe. A rare, elementary, soul-type, heavenly Tao cardinal treasure. This was a spoil of war that Lin Feng had obtained from the storage ring of Wu Qi, who had launched a surprise attack on him. Its value was comparable to a mid-grade heavenly Tao supreme treasure. The 10-star alignment itself possessed extraordinary might. The first layer was control, the second layer was illusion, and the third layer was attack. What he was displaying right now was the power of the first level. What the hell is that? Where's he? Whitebrook angrily roared again and again. He had entered another layer of the starry skies of the universe and completely lost track of the other party. Looking left and right, Whitebrook suddenly realized something and clenched his teeth. Damn it, I was tricked. He was also very experienced, but he had been caught off guard for a moment. His aura exploded, and even his domain power turned into an endless radiance that forcefully broke through Lin Feng's control. The 10-star alignment instantly vanished, as if it had escaped from the painting scroll. But at this time, the roaring black saber had already arrived. Pung! Whitebrook's body trembled. He retreated again and again. The other party's terrifying strength had left a deep impression on him, but what shocked him the most was that in a short moment, his third brother Gwashipin's aura had completely vanished. After his second brotherly Feng, he had also died under this human boy saber. Damn it! Whitebrook was unable to restrain his anger. He was just about to advance, but he never imagined that something like this would happen. He tried to steal a chicken, only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. 2 of his brothers had been killed by this human youth, and now he was the only one left. His domain tightly wrapped around Lin Feng, constantly increasing his strength. But at this time, Lin Feng had also used the Blood Demon River. Although its strength couldn't compare to White Brook's domain, and he had used it a bit later, it still protected him and minimized the suppression of his domain. Lin Feng's saber aura was peerless. His movement technique completely suppressed White Brook. The second layer of light and darkness, the third move of the Milky Way saber art, slaughter overflowing the heavens, had already been used. A sharp light split into tens of thousands, and the demonic wrist was fully amplified. It crazily twisted White Brook's tough and rough body, exploding with power. Chi! Chi! White Brook was completely suppressed. He howled miserably as blood spurted out. 3 against 1, they still weren't Lin Feng's opponent, let alone 1 against 1. There was no hope of survival. Wrapped in endless slaughter, White Brook's howls grew weaker and weaker until he fell into a pool of blood. Clang! Black Lotus excitedly drank the blood. Lin Feng's left hand moved, and the black demonic aura gradually disappeared, returning to normal. However, there were now more than 20 virtual yellow cores on his arm. He had collected everything White Brook and the other 2 had obtained. This included all the treasures and valuables that they had plundered. Everything was confiscated. Without enough strength, no matter how good the immediate benefits were, in the end, it would all be for naught. This isn't a bad harvest. Lin Feng put away Black Lotus and smiled in satisfaction. Naturally, he hadn't teleported here, so how could he make such a low-level mistake? Besides, the Eternal Star's purple flames couldn't hurt him at all. With 2 layers of armor and the perfect chaotic body, Lin Feng was confident that he could contend against the purple flames even if they were 10 times stronger. Trying to ambush me? Too naive. His soul was strong enough, and Lin Feng's ability to sense life energy was better than White Brook and the other 2. He had already sensed their presence long ago, so he had used a little trick. He had used spatial teleportation to lure the 3 out and then killed them in one fell swoop. From using all his strength in a 1-on-2 fight to a 1-on-3 fight, Lin Feng had undergone a metamorphosis over the past 6,600 years. My current strength should be at the threshold of a high-level Divine Lord. Among the participants of the Intermediate Standard, I should be considered a powerhouse. Lin Feng was well aware of this. Many of the participants of the Intermediate Standard had the strength of a high-level Divine Lord. He was still a little lacking, but he believed that he would soon catch up after this trip to the Bright Sky Secret Realm. I'll kill a few more of the Intermediate Standard participants. When the mission is over, not only the 4th level of the Treasury, but even the 5th level of the Treasury might be opened. Lin Feng rested for a while, and then continued forward. This place was very close to the entrance of the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Purple flames enveloped the area, releasing terrifying energy. In front of him was a flawless circular entrance that absorbed the energy of the universe and turned it into its own. It breathed in turbid energy, and the entrance emitted a strange rainbow color that attracted people to enter. This is the entrance of the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Lin Feng's figure flashed and passed through the purple flames. He instantly felt a powerful suction force coming from below, causing the black vortex to tremble. Swish! Lin Feng entered the Bright Sky Secret Realm. P.S. Follow the official WeChat account, Limiox's666. Chapter 2341. In the depths of the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Sizzle. Space distorted and turned into a rainbow light. An expert holding a mid-level heavenly law treasure widened his eyes in shock. He didn't even have the strength to resist before his head was separated from his body. A shadow appeared in the void, overlapping and twisting into a real body. It was a midget man wearing a mask, revealing only a pair of pitch-black eyes. He was only 2 meters tall, and the hooks of the daggers in his hand were clear. They were both half a meter long. Fei Qing, I won't lose to you. I, Li Kongxiu, not only want to enter the Time Virtual Company, but I also want to enter with the best record and become the elite of the elites. Swish! The midget man's figure twisted again, revealing his shocking spatial talent and movement techniques. He was very experienced in killing people. He was the famous phantom killer Li Kongqiu among the participants of the mid-level standard. He was as famous as Moon Demon Sword Feiqing. Both of them had killed high-level participants before and were recognized as having the battle prowess of a high-level divine lord. Of course, they weren't the only ones among the participants of the mid-level standard who had the battle prowess of a high-level divine lord. However, it was undeniable that both Moon Demon Sword Feiqing and Phantom Killer Li Kongqiu were really strong. One was proficient in the Time Heavenly Law, while the other was proficient in the Space Heavenly Law. What a rich spatial energy. As expected of the Bright Sky Secret Realm, it's very effective to cultivate the spatial laws here. Lin Feng traveled in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. The Black Vortex was jubilant. Although the Black Vortex had the support of a wandering planet and didn't lack spatial energy, it felt very comfortable in a secret realm of space or time. Because it was a combination of space and time, it formed a singularity that was completely compatible with the bloodline. The cultivation effect was naturally better. If high-level participants and above can enter, there must be a bunch of mid-level participants in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. He would do the same if he were in their shoes. After all, the time limit of the high-level mission was 1,000 years and 100 was 100,000 years. With so much time, he had to find the best place to cultivate. The big fish eat the small fish. Those who dare to cultivate here must be very strong. They must be the best of the mid-level participants. Interesting, Lin Feng smiled. The more challenging it was, the more excited he felt. Just as he had guessed before, it was very likely that he would be able to gather the virtual yellow core needed to open the 5th floor of the treasure vault here. Opening the 3rd level of the treasure vault required 1 virtual yellow core. Opening the 4th level required 10 virtual yellow cores, and opening the 5th level required 100 virtual yellow cores, which was equivalent to 10,000 virtual red cores. However, the first thing he had to do was to obtain the quest item. The Luminous Sky Secret Realm's mission item is the Luminous Sky Star, which can only be found in the depths of the Secret Realm. To enter the depths of the Secret Realm, you must first find the Secret Realm's passageway. The passageway is guarded by Secret Realm guards. In other words, finding the Guardian of the Secret Realm is equivalent to finding the passageway to the depths of the Secret Realm. Lin Feng could clearly see the map on his right arm. He immersed his consciousness into it, and a crystal-clear mini-star appeared. It was the Bright Sky Star that was unique to the Bright Sky Secret Realm, a treasure that contained perfect spatial energy. Even if it's not a quest item, Luminous Star should still be worth quite a bit. By rough estimation, Luminous Star's value should be about the same as a basic Heavenly Tao Supreme treasure. However, he didn't find any Luminous Star among the 5 intermediate standard contestants that he killed. Similarly, he didn't find any quest items in other ordinary secret realms either. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that it was taken away. Lin Feng knew that when he had killed the 5 participants who had reached the intermediate standard, there would always be an imperceptible force descending upon him. There was no danger, and it would only take away some things. After all, this was the virtual realm, which was completely controlled by the Time Virtual Company. Quest items had to be obtained with one's own strength. Only in this way would it be fair. There was no path to the Bright Sky Secret Realm on the map. After entering the Secret Realm, one had to explore and obtain the quest item on their own. Not only did they have to be careful of the Secret Realm guards, but they also had to be careful of the contestants. Survival of the fittest. Winners were kings and losers were bandits. Dying. A fiend race expert clad in golden armor easily hacked down an enemy, laughing maniacally. It's too easy. None of the beginner standard contestants are a match for me, Han Yuan. Holding a saber in one hand, an axe in the other, a spear in the other, and a whip in the other, the golden armored demon expert had 4 thick arms, and his attack power was outstanding. On his left arm was a virtual green core, and he had already opened the 4th level of the treasure vault. However, he was only a beginner standard contestant. Master said that to join the Time Virtual Company or the 7th Mercenary Alliance, The minimum requirement is to open the 5th level of the treasure vault at the intermediate standard and obtain 7 quest items. Only then can the 2 giants appear and be under my command. The golden-armored demon expert grinned and didn't hide the murderous aura in his eyes. I have now accumulated 3 virtual green cores. I can meet the requirement by slowly hunting the beginner standard contestants outside. Hun Yuan clearly knew that he didn't go deep into the treasure vault. That was the territory of the intermediate standard contestants. No matter how confident he was, he didn't dare to go there. Anyway, as long as he met the requirement, why should he take such a big risk? According to Master, unless I'm extremely unlucky and encounter a monster with my current strength, the beginner standard contestants are no match for me. I can kill one if I see one. Hun Yuan was full of confidence. He waved his 4 arms at the same time and unleashed his power. His attack power was as strong as 2 experts attacking at the same time. Ordinary opponents couldn't resist at all. At this moment, a sharp sound broke through the air behind him, and the black flame instantly arrived. What? Hun Yuan frowned. The newcomer's ability to hide his life aura was quite outstanding. He didn't notice at all. He turned around to resist and counterattack, but the opponent's attack was quite fast and fierce. What strong power! Huan Yuan's expression changed as soon as they exchanged blows. Regardless of strength or realm, the newcomer was much stronger than the opponents he had killed before. As soon as he was repelled, the domain below appeared. Hunting Ape roared angrily and used his true strength. The display of the space domain allowed him to regain the upper hand, but it was only for a moment. At the same time, when the domain was in effect, the opponent's attack came like a wave. Boom, boom, boom. The saber light was like a mountain, turning into thousands of rays. Although Hun Yuan had 4 arms, he still couldn't resist the terrifying saber technique. After a fierce battle, he gradually fell into a disadvantage and finally died under the terrifying saber technique. His 4 arms kept waving, and there was no more vitality. Boom! Huan Yuan's huge body fell to the ground, his eyes full of unwillingness. Swoosh! Lin Feng's figure appeared instantly, his eyes full of murderous aura, perfectly connected with the black skeleton in his hand. He took Huan Yuan's belongings and disappeared in the endless space. Chapter 2342. 3 virtual green cores and 4 mid-level heavenly path true treasures. However, there were not many low-level heavenly path true treasures and only a few pinnacle true treasures. These were all that Huan Yuan had. Not bad. Lin Feng was satisfied. One of the mid-level heavenly path true treasures was the Black Heart battle armor, which he could use. The other 3 mid-level heavenly path true treasures were also very valuable. They must have been exchanged by the great warrior from the 4th level. No wonder he didn't have any low-level heavenly path true treasures or pinnacle true treasures. Now, I've accumulated more than 80 virtual yellow cores. It won't be long before I reach the requirement to open the 5th level of the treasure vault. Lin Feng's goal was clear. He was here to obtain the virtual yellow cores and treasures. He would open the treasury to obtain the exchange qualification in exchange for 10 bottles of Universe Spring of Life. Even if he couldn't complete the mid-level survival challenge, there was still the high-level survival challenge, which would take 10 times more time. Very few low-level participants have opened the 4th level of the treasury. Lin Feng sped through the bright sky secret realm and continued to search for other participants. Here, no one had friends, only enemies. Whoever was stronger would be able to survive here. For the mission, for survival, they would fight and fight. If they could win, they would fight to the death. If they couldn't, they would run as far as they could. Even someone as strong as Lin Feng had been in the bright sky secret realm for hundreds of years. Many low-level participants had slipped away. Those who had survived until now might not be powerful, but they might have strong survival skills. The secret realm passageway is really hard to find. Lin Feng was helpless. He thought it would be easy to enter the depths of the bright sky secret realm. He didn't expect to find nothing after hundreds of years. The space secret realm is the space secret realm. The direction alone is enough to make me dizzy. There are countless layers of passageways, but none of them lead to the depths. It will be dangerous if this continues. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He wasn't afraid that he couldn't get the bright sky star, but he was afraid that he didn't have enough time. He had already spent 6,600 years cultivating and killed 2 top-level Emptiness Realm beasts and countless high-level Emptiness Realm beasts. After deducting the mission time of hundreds of years, when he found the secret realm passageway, he would definitely encounter the secret realm guards. If he killed one, he would reduce the mission time by 1,000 years. Time will be tight. We can't waste any more time trying to find our way. Lin Feng was clear. The bright sky mystic realm was too big, and he wasn't very proficient in the space heavenly Tao, so he didn't have much of an advantage in this aspect. If he was unlucky, it was possible that he wouldn't be able to find his way in a few thousand years. My luck has never been very good. Lin Feng smiled calmly. There are always more solutions than difficulties. In the dense coniferous forest, a short-haired youth with a pale complexion was running at full speed, his head covered in cold sweat. Beneath his feet, boundless black hell enveloped him, trapping him and preventing him from teleporting. All he could do was release his domain to prevent himself from being affected. It was too terrifying. Why did I encounter this fiend? The short-haired youth was filled with hatred. He was the dignified young villa master of the Hui Yun Mountain Villa. Since he was young, he had been an outstanding talent among his peers. His aptitude and comprehension ability were top-notch. Even though he was a low-level divine lord, he could already unleash the full power of a mid-level heavenly law supreme treasure. His strength was comparable to a mid-level divine lord. After passing 2 tests in a row and obtaining the elementary qualification, Wang Hui became even more confident. He was very strong. If he could continue to complete the mission and reach the mid-level and high-level standards, he would bring glory to his ancestors. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a terrifying opponent? In just 2 or 3 moves, the opponent had shattered all of the attacks he was so proud of and severely injured him. The opponent's overwhelming strength made Wang Hui lose the courage to continue fighting. His opponent was too strong. I'm really a frog in a well. Father was right. The Xingfeng astral plane is vast. There will always be someone better than you. Wang Hui's heart trembled. He knew that he would not be able to escape this calamity. He was now like a prey that was being watched closely, waiting for the hunter to shoot an arrow and kill him with one shot. Whoosh! Suddenly, a picture scroll enveloped him. 10 stars shone brightly. Wang Hui, who was already at the end of his rope, felt his mind go blank. It was as if he had entered another void world. He wanted to resist, but he was powerless. He had lost. Dispirited and deathly silent, Wang Hui's face was dejected. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. If he was not so arrogant, if he was willing to listen to his father, if he was willing to work harder, if he was willing, everything was already too late. The icy cold voice fell into Wang Hui's ears. His lowered head slightly lifted up. He wanted to see clearly the opponent whose strength crushed his, the youth who was similar in age to him, the peer whose strength far surpassed his own. He wanted to remember it. He, Wang Hui, the young villa master of Hui Yun Mountain Villa, died in his hands. Whoosh! Their eyes met. Wang Hui clenched his teeth and did not retreat. Do you know where the passage to the secret realm is? The sudden voice caused Wang Hui to be stunned. He stared blankly at the person of the same age who was stronger than him and almost instinctively nodded his head. Lin Feng looked at Wang Hui. Bring me there. Once we find the passage to the secret realm, you'll be free. Freedom. One extravagant word. Freedom did not exist in the bright sky secret realm. Now that he was in a desperate situation, he thought that he would die. Who would have thought that he would be able to find a way out? You? Are you serious? Wang Hui asked in disbelief. Yes, Lin Feng replied. There was no need to explain too much. He had no choice. Okay, I'll bring you there. Wang Hui was a smart person. He knew when to stop and when to take advantage of the situation. He said this way. Lin Feng nodded and followed him. The passage to the secret realm should not be so difficult to find. He was just unlucky and did not have enough time. There were so many beginner participants here, and many of them had been here for thousands of years. It was not difficult to find the passage to the secret realm. Along the way, Wang Hui did not try anything funny. Instead, he tried to get closer to Lin Feng. He knew that getting closer to Lin Feng was more likely than running away. This young man, who was the same age as him, did not seem like a violent hypocrite who was difficult to get along with. Usually, young and powerful experts like him had their own pride. He chose to believe him. The secret realm's passage is right in front of us. Brother Lin, be careful of the secret realm's guards. Their bodies are comparable to high-level divine masters, and their defense is very strong. Wang Hui said, Brother Lin, do you need my help to distract the secret realm's guards? No need. You can go. Lin Feng looked ahead. He could already see the passage to the secret realm. Thank you, Brother Lin. Wang Hui was overjoyed. He cupped his hands and bowed. Brother Lin, if you have the chance, you must come to the Huiyun Manor. Let me be your host. Okay. Lin Feng knew what Wang Hui was thinking. He nodded and waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Wang Hui teleported away and fled. Chapter 2343. At the secret realm passageway, Lin Feng approached the passageway slowly. The energy changes in front of him were even more intense. It was like a giant passageway that covered the sky and the earth. As soon as he entered it, he felt like he had entered another layer of space that was completely isolated from the outside world. Is it to prevent other competitors from ambushing me at the secret realm passageway? Lin Feng looked around and summoned the Blood Demon River. Although using a domain for no reason would consume some energy, he still had to be cautious since he didn't know the strength of the Secret Realm Guardian. After all, the Secret Realm Guardian was the same as the Emptiness Realm Beast. They didn't have any aura. Right now, he couldn't sense any aura in the Secret Realm passageway. However, there must be a Secret Realm Guardian in the Secret Realm passageway. This was the rule. The Secret Realm Guardian was the same as the Emptiness Realm Beast. They didn't have a physical body, but were unique to the time Emptiness Realm. They could be created infinitely, or they could be a part of the Secret Realm. As long as the Secret Realm existed, there would be a Secret Realm Guardian. It has thick skin and strong defense. Its attack and speed are slow, but its endurance and entanglement are quite strong. Lin Feng already knew the Secret Realm Guardian's characteristics from Wang Hui. It had the power of a mid-level divine lord, and its defense was extremely strong. It was very difficult for beginner standard competitors to kill it. Once they got into a fight and were entangled by the Secret Realm Guardian, they could be dragged to death. Whoosh! Lin Feng rushed forward. To him, the only thing he was afraid of was the Secret Realm Guardian. There was no other threat. The other competitors might be afraid of being entangled by the Secret Realm Guardian, but he wasn't. He didn't care about a prolonged fight, not to mention that he had absolute confidence in killing it. If I can avoid killing it, I'll try my best to save 1,000 years. There were less than 3,000 years left for the mission, and he still hadn't obtained the Luminous Star. Killing the Secret Realm Guardian and reducing the mission time by 1,000 years might not be a good thing. Basically, the beginner standard competitors didn't complete the mission by killing the Secret Realm Guardian. Instead, they defended and distanced themselves. They used the Secret Realm Guardian's clumsiness as an excuse to avoid fighting and pass through the Secret Realm passageway. It's here. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. It didn't sense him, but the Blood Demon River. Even if the Secret Realm Guardian didn't release any aura, it was a domain because it controlled the entire area. As the name suggested, any movement in the wind or grass could be controlled. It was impossible for a guardian of such a large secret realm to sneak in without making a sound. Clang! The thick saber cut through the space, completely ignoring the restrictions of the domain. The Secret Realm Guardian was fully armed, like a soldier wearing heavy armor. His face was expressionless as he coldly slaughtered. Clang! Metal clashed as Lin Feng and the Guardian exchanged a blow. Heitong was brimming with fighting spirit and excitement. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Since the Guardian had appeared, he wouldn't take it seriously. One-on-one, fearless Secret Realm Guardian. Even its tyrannical power was nothing in front of him. Bang! Boom! Lin Feng attacked continuously, using his physical strength to shake the Guardian. Using the Milky Way saber technique, his power gradually increased, and he quickly suppressed the Guardian. As strong as the Secret Realm Guardian, it was a tyrannical opponent that the participants avoided like the plague. Now, it had become Lin Feng's practice opponent. What was the ability that he was so proud of? Endurance, strength, defense, and entanglement. However, his strength was inferior to Lin Feng's, and his endurance was also inferior. What was the use of entanglement? After being beaten for a long time, no matter how strong the defense was, it would collapse sooner or later. Bang! Bang! The Guardian's armor was broken, and it fell to the ground, battered and exhausted. If Lin Feng hadn't held back, it would have been killed. However, this didn't benefit Lin Feng at all. It's about time. Lin Feng put away Hei Teng and jumped past the Guardian, heading for the exit. The outcome had been decided, and there was no need to continue the fight. At this moment, inexplicably, his heart sank as a sense of dread filled his heart. Lin Feng frowned and almost reflexively released dense light energy. Combined with the second sky of light and darkness, a white light wrapped around his body, forming a solid defense. Light element heavenly law treasure, dazzling light armor. The highest defense was level 4. Defense was no longer his weakness. The past 6,600 years weren't in vain. The dazzling light armor firmly protected Lin Feng, forming a defense as solid as a bell. At this moment, 3 identical guardians suddenly appeared from the front, left, and right. Their coordination was incomparable. Vigorous energy surged in from all directions, creating a terrifying pressure. Bang! The dazzling light armor's defense was instantly shattered. The 3 guardians' power was quite brutal, and their attack frequency was exactly the same. The instant they attacked, they resonated and increased their power. Amazing! Lin Feng's chest tightened as he blocked and retreated. 1 guardian and 3 guardians were 2 completely different things. The latter's strength wasn't as simple as the former multiplied by 3, but by 10 or even 20. Clang! Hei Teng was unsheathed again, and Lin Feng's fighting spirit was surging. Although he didn't know why 4 guardians appeared in this passage, now wasn't the time to think about it. He had to think of a way to solve the imminent problem. Time Virtual Company, top-grade intelligent cabin. A huge machine sat in the center, as large as a small planet. Around this machine, filled with a metallic silver aura, were small cabins. It was as if the sun's rays were refracted into lines, forming branches. This was one of the forbidden areas of the Time Virtual Company. Only the higher-ups and managers were allowed to enter. Quan, you're breaking the rules again. A square-faced man walked over with his hands behind his back, looking displeased. He looked at the huge screen in front of him, and on it was the scene of Lin Feng fighting the 3 guardians. In front of this huge screen, a white-haired youth with a green foxtail in his mouth was half lying on the sofa, looking at the screen as if admiring his masterpiece. Why are there so many rules, boss? The white-haired youth didn't even turn his head, crossing his legs. The top-grade AI didn't say that there's only 1 guardian in the passage. Isn't it fun to have a few more? No one can help you if you're playing with fire. The square-faced man said in a deep voice, but his eyes were fixed on the screen. As the person in charge of the 5th Times virtual realm, he naturally recognized this little human who had appeared out of nowhere. Although he was not like those heavenly geniuses who could advance triumphantly all the way, he was still steadily improving his strength. Now, it was already quite shocking. Hey, boss, aren't you engrossed in it too? The white-haired youth tilted his head and revealed a strange smile. The square-faced man snorted coldly and didn't answer, still staring at the screen. Chapter 2344. 1 against 3. Moreover, the 3 Secret Realm Guardians had astonishing defense, and their attacks resonated with each other. Lin Feng was under a lot of pressure. Every Secret Realm Guardian was as strong as a top-notch intermediate Divine Lord. When the 3 of them formed an encirclement, their strength was even more terrifying. Soul attacks were completely ineffective against Secret Realm Guardians. To Lin Feng, the most troublesome thing wasn't soul attacks, but the fact that he couldn't kill them. Every time he killed a Secret Realm Guardian, it was equivalent to reducing the mission time by 1,000 years. If he killed all 3 Secret Realm Guardians, the mission time would be reduced to 10,000 years. If he didn't get the Luminous Star, he wouldn't have completed the intermediate standard mission. Failure. What should he do? At the Time Virtual Company, the person in charge of the 5th Time Virtual Realm, Cheng Weigua, was also very curious. Although he had just reprimanded his subordinate, He Quan, he had always turned a blind eye to He Quan's improper behavior. His responsibility wasn't just to be in charge of the 5th Time Virtual Realm. His most important task was to recruit talents for the Time Virtual Company. The main purpose of the Time Virtual Realm Survival Challenge was to provide fresh blood for the 2 big shots and to select talented newcomers. It was similar to the Underground King's God-Slaughtering Ground organized by the God-Slaughtering Tower. However, the Time Virtual Realm Survival Challenge was organized by the 7th Mercenary Alliance and the Time Virtual Company. Not only was it more famous than the Underground King's God-Slaughtering Ground, but the 2 big shots were also responsible for the selection of newcomers. The Time Virtual Company could watch the 5th Time Virtual Realm, and so could the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Escape. Cheng Weigua frowned. Seeing Lin Feng escape from the combined attack of the 3 Secret Realm Guardians and retreat, Cheng Weigua's evaluation of Lin Feng immediately dropped. If it were any other contestant who had completed the intermediate mission, it would be understandable. However, the Time Virtual Company was selecting the top geniuses, the elites of the elites, regardless of how strong he was. Just his fear of battle was enough to make him fall into a disadvantage. Yo! On the other side, He Quan clicked his tongue. At this moment, on the screen, Lin Feng had already entered a ring-shaped passage. While blocking the attacks of the Secret Realm Guardians, he closed in on them and lured all 3 of them into the passage. He Quan drew a circle on the screen. Pung! Lin Feng took a direct hit from the frontmost Secret Realm Guardian and used the powerful impact to instantly escape from behind. He ran as fast as he could to increase the distance between him and the Secret Realm Guardian. After circling around the circular passageway, he directly shook it off. The 3 Mystic Realm Guardians who had been following Lin Feng closely suddenly became 3 tails, unable to form an encirclement. Although the Secret Realm Guardian was powerful, it was still a product of the Emptiness Realm and had no intelligence. In addition, speed was not their forte, so they were quickly left behind by Lin Feng and disappeared without a trace. Coward, Cheng Weigua said in a deep voice. You can't say that, boss. There's nothing wrong with using wits, He Quan said. Running away without a fight is cowardice. Cheng Weigua said coldly. As a warrior, he doesn't want to solve problems with his fists, but only wants to solve problems with his brain. This kid's future achievements will be limited. He Quan said, boss, he has less than 3,000 years left to complete the mission. It's not very good to fight the Secret Realm Guardians to the death. Cheng Weigua glanced at He Quan and said, you said it yourself. He has less than 3,000 years left. There's more than enough time. Just kill 2 of the Secret Realm Guardians. When there's only 1 Secret Realm Guardian left, it won't be worth mentioning. Cheng Weigua looked at Lin Feng's figure on the screen. At this moment, he was already close to the exit of the Secret Realm. In the blink of an eye, his figure disappeared from the screen. In the end, it's because he doesn't want to fight. Cheng Weigua's eyes lit up. With his hands behind his back, he turned and left as if he expected better from Tung Ching Shan. Behind him, He Quan shrugged with a helpless expression. This boss of his had a stubborn temper. Oh, there's not much time left. I wonder if this kid can meet the recruitment requirements for the intermediate standard mission. Huh. He Quan quickly put Cheng Weigua to the back of his mind and crossed his legs again to watch. Anyway, he was already used to this kind of thing. I'm out. Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief. The 3 Secret Realm Guardians behind him weren't strong, but they were very clingy. Once he got tangled up with one of them, he would have to face the pressure of all 3 Secret Realm Guardians at the same time. Resonance attacks were no joke. If he went all out, he was confident that he could kill all 3 Secret Realm Guardians. However, he wasn't confident that he could escape unscathed and only kill one or two of them. Moreover, how could he obtain the luminous star in the depths of the luminous sky secret realm? He hadn't even taken any shape yet. It was better to save some time. Wang Hui picked it up in the middle of a green lake not long after he came out of the secret realm. Lin Feng hovered in the air and scanned the area. Soon, he found the green lake Wang Hui had mentioned and took in everything at a glance. The green lake sparkled with light. It was beautiful beyond compare. Under the light of brilliant light, it was like a gift from the holy light. Luminous star. Lin Feng searched for his target and slowly flew toward the green lake. For the time being, he didn't find anything suspicious. Clearly, his luck wasn't as good as Wang Hui's to find a luminous star as soon as he entered. However, it didn't matter. Anyway, he was going to stay here for a long time. Since he was here, he didn't plan to leave for the time being. In the depths of the luminous sky secret realm, there were many intermediate standard great beings hidden. It was much more interesting than the outside. He had close to 3,000 years. It shouldn't be difficult for him to find a luminous star while searching for his opponents. So, Lin Feng flew across the green lake and searched aimlessly. According to the top-notch AI, the mission items were randomly distributed in any place without any special rules. However, there was no rule that stated that only one mission item could be obtained. In other words, all the participants in the depths of the secret realm could continuously obtain mission items. Of course, doing so was very stupid. If one had extra time to not cultivate and instead wandered around aimlessly searching for mission items, it was purely a waste of time. A luminous star was equivalent to a beginner-level Heaven's Path absolute treasure. It was around 100 cosmos crystals. Even if one was extremely lucky to obtain 10, it would only be 1,000 cosmos crystals. It should be known that the reward for a high-grade treasure was 10,000 cosmos crystals. The reward for a top-notch treasure was 100,000 cosmos crystals. Every minute in the survival challenge was priceless. So, soon, Lin Feng passed through the green lake. In front of him was a boundless grassland. He couldn't see the end of it. It was at least 10 times bigger than the green lake. Without stopping, Lin Feng passed through the grassland. In such a desolate place that could be seen with a glance, it was impossible for a great being to cultivate quietly. The intermediate standard participants were either hiding in places where the space energy was especially dense or in very hidden places. There might be one up ahead. Lin Feng could already see an endless stretch of mountain peaks in front of him. Chapter 2345. The Black Diamond Mountain Range was shrouded in thick fog all year round, making it difficult to see one's fingers. Dense spatial energy covered all the surrounding mountains. Although it wasn't the place with the densest spatial energy in the secret realm, it was secluded and had a good cultivation environment. For the mid-level participants who hadn't reached the 5th times virtual realm, safety was more important than spatial energy. There's so many mountains. There must be at least one mid-level participant. Lin Feng stood on an isolated mountain peak and looked down. He couldn't see through the thick fog, and his aura was blocked by the spatial energy. There was a natural barrier here. If it were him, he would also choose to cultivate here. Whoosh! Lin Feng dashed directly into the thick fog because of his skill and boldness. He couldn't see what was below the fog, but the participants who were cultivating here couldn't see what was above the fog either. In the face of an unknown battle, he had a powerful soul and a sixth sense that could sense danger. What was there to be afraid of? The mid-level participants were at most a high-level Divine Lord. Lin Feng also had the fighting power of a high-level Divine Lord, and he also had the 6th stage of the Kuan Ling Hard Arrow. He could at least protect himself if he couldn't defeat his opponent. He was already prepared for battle. Hei Tong's murderous intent filled the air, forming an almost solid black dragon. As soon as he came out of the fog, a sharp sword energy pierced toward him. However, Lin Feng also used his Milky Way blade technique at the same time. He didn't plan to hide it. Although he didn't hide it when he used his full strength, at least he wouldn't fall into a passive position. Bang! Bang! They exchanged 2 moves in a row, and the distance between them widened. Lin Feng saw his opponent clearly. It was a mid-level participant. The mark on his armor was very clear. He wore a silver helmet and had a short horn on his forehead. He looked like a human, but he had a scaled tail that coiled around his waist. The blue sword in his hand shone brightly, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. A low-level participant. The scaled-tailed man's eyes were full of disbelief. He knew from the short exchange that his opponent was as strong as him, but he didn't expect him to be a low-level participant. But no matter if it was a beginner or intermediate contestant, they were all his enemies. Kill. The scaly-tailed man did not hesitate. While his murderous aura exploded, he once again attacked Lin Feng, not giving Lin Feng any time to breathe. The scaly-tailed man was well aware of the principle of striking first to gain the upper hand. Whoosh! Lin Feng's magic wrist was fully activated, and his combat power also soared to the peak. In the first battle after entering the Bright Sky Secret Realm, he encountered an opponent who forced him to go all out. His blood boiled. They were evenly matched. Neither of them could do anything to the other. The scaly-tailed man glared fiercely at Lin Feng before disappearing. Lin Feng didn't chase after him because there was no need to. He didn't have the confidence to kill him, and more importantly, there were several intermediate standard participants watching him. There was more than one intermediate standard participant here. Everyone had relatively strong, life-saving abilities. They restrained each other and did not dare to kill or fight excessively. Once someone was seriously injured, the other experts would take advantage of the situation. There should be 3. Lin Feng was not injured, so he quickly circled around. Before his arrival, the 3 intermediate standard participants had already formed a tripartite balance, and no one dared to act rashly. However, his arrival had obviously broken the balance. After finding a quiet mountain to settle down, Lin Feng waited for his first guest. "Hello, I'm Yuan Yin. You can call me Yuan Yin." The visitor was a smiling man. He had crystal-clear long hair and curved eyebrows like a woman's. Lin Feng. Since the other party greeted him politely, Lin Feng also responded politely. "Brother Lin, you are really powerful. You defeated Bing Mai at the low-level standard. When you reach the mid-level standard, you will definitely be one of the best in the 5th-time virtual realm." Yuan Yin gave a thumbs up and praised him with a smile. "You flatter me," Lin Feng said. He was still not completely at ease with this smiling man in front of him. "How about we discuss something, Brother Lin?" Yuan Yin lowered his voice and narrowed his eyes. "Speak," Lin Feng said. A cold light shot out from Yuan Yin's eyes. He pointed outside and said, "Brother Lin, you are a straightforward person. How about you and I work together and kill Bing Mai and Bai Yuzi?" "How?" Lin Feng said. Bing Mai and Bai Yuzi should be the other 2 intermediate standard participants here. The one who fought with him before was Bing Mai. Yuan Yin said, "You and I work together to kill one of them, and then kill the other. How about that?" "Okay," Lin Feng agreed without hesitation. There were only benefits and no disadvantages in working together. With Yuan Yin's personality, if he refused to work together, he would definitely find the next partner, either Bing Mai or Bai Yuzi. At that time, he would be the one who would be beaten 2 against 1. After seeing Bing Mai's strength, Lin Feng knew that the strength of the 3 should be about the same. If it was 2 against 1, he had no chance of winning. But now it was different. Boom! Whoosh! Yuan Yin set up an inescapable net and released the Black Eagle domain, forming a dark and terrifying area that covered the entire mountain. Instantly, a man with a scaly tail charged out of the mountain, full of killing intent. "Yuan Yin, you despicable man!" Bing Mai scolded angrily. He also saw Lin Feng and knew what had happened. "Your opponent is me." Lin Feng stopped Bing Mai directly. Not only did he want to divide the work, but he also wanted to fight with Bing Mai again. Last time, there was no clear winner. But this time he could go all out. With Yuan Yin's help, the 2 against 1 was even more overwhelming. Damn it, let me out." Bing Mai roared again and again. While being attacked by Lin Feng, he was also completely restrained by Yuan Yin's domain and couldn't move. Facing Lin Feng, who was strong in close combat, plus Yuan Yin's sneak attacks and control, The situation was completely one-sided. 2 against 1. It was a sure win situation. Bing Mai, who was trapped in the domain, was greatly weakened. Soon, he was completely restrained by Lin Feng. "Kill me. You're next." Bing Mai was hysterical. Blood flowed like water. In the end, he died under Lin Feng's blade. The Black Eagle domain shook loudly. Reaching out his hand, Lin Feng was about to take Bing Mai's storage ring when suddenly, the endless Dark Eagle domain changed its rhythm. Countless dark eagles dove down from the sky like comets, biting at every powerful warrior within the domain. Behind him, there were 3 arrows that formed a line and shot towards him at high speed. "Go to hell, kid." Yuan Yin's narrowed eyes shot out rays of cold light, surging with killing intent. He had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Chapter 2346. Sneak Attack. Yuan Yin's strength was not below Lin Feng's. Moreover, his attack after Lin Feng and Bing Mai had expended a huge amount of energy was extremely sinister. The Black Eagle domain was crazily devouring Lin Feng. It could be said that he had taken advantage of the situation. He was 90% sure that he could kill Lin Feng. How could a mere beginner's standard contestant be a match for him? Yuan Yin. Die! Yuan Yin revealed 2 sinister fangs as his eyes revealed an ominous glint. His mask of hypocrisy had been torn apart at this moment, revealing his true face. Whoosh! 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 3 arrows pierced through the air, filled with the ultimate spatial laws. Lin Feng turned around to fight. The Black Eagle knocked away one of the arrows, and the dazzling light armor erupted with an ultimate defense to block another arrow. However, the 3rd arrow could not be blocked. Chi! It pierced through the dazzling light armor and pierced through Yukong's inner armor. Fresh blood spurted out, causing Lin Feng to suffer heavy injuries. Damn it! Yuan Yin frowned with an ugly expression. Lin Feng's first attack and the defense of the battlesuit at the same time caused the target of his 3 arrows to shift slightly. Although the shift was very small, it was the difference between a flesh wound and a vital point in a battle. Chi! 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 Another 3 arrows were knocked. The Black Eagle domain wreaked havoc on Lin Feng. As a mid-grade heavenly law treasure, Yuan Yin had an absolute advantage in terms of domains. As an expert in long-range attacks, domains were his roots. Naturally, he would spend a lot of effort and a lot of money. Let's see how many arrows you can block. Yuan Yin revealed a cold glint as the spatial spiral aura twisted and condensed on the arrows. Although the first attack was not as expected, it had at least injured Lin Feng and weakened his aura. The second and third attacks would only become more and more effective. There would definitely be an attack that the opponent could not block. Die! Yuan Yin roared as 3 silver arrows tore through space and appeared once again. However, at this time, the Black Eagle domain moved and a pitch-black hole appeared out of thin air. It spun rapidly and turned into a yin-yang heaven and earth circle in the next moment. It emitted boundless luster and contained the principles of heaven and earth. Not good. Yuan Yin's expression changed greatly, and his body trembled violently. Within the yin-yang universe ring, a figure dressed in Taoist robes suddenly appeared. He wielded a strange wooden sword as he attacked Yin. As the wooden sword attacked, the heaven and earth yin and yang energies fused. Auspicious clouds appeared in the surrounding space as they enveloped and absorbed the spatial energy. The most mysterious of the 3 experts of the Black Diamond Mountain Range, Bai Yuzi, he actually appeared at this time. Despicable. Yuan Yin flew into a rage out of humiliation. He forcefully took Mang Yuzi's attack and hurriedly retreated. He was not good at close combat, so it would be very troublesome for him to encounter Mang Yuzi, who was extremely good at restraining others. As soon as it appeared, it broke the Black Hawk domain that he relied on to survive. The next moment, Lin Feng, who had just received the second wave of attacks, had already arrived behind him. His eyes were blood red and filled with killing intent, as if he was a devil that had crawled out from hell, and his aura was overbearing and terrifying. Lin Feng's close combat ability was very strong. having just cooperated with Lin Feng. How could Yuan Yi not know the strengths of this human youth? They were attacked from both front and rear. I understand now. Yuan Yi was not stupid. Lin Feng had blocked 2 of his attacks, and Meng Yuzi's sudden appearance could only mean one thing. He was the one who had been tricked. Gnashing his teeth, he finally realized that he had gone for wool and come home shorn. With a twisted face, Yuan Yi frantically fled. The surrounding spatial energy was in chaos, and even the laws became much more chaotic. If it were a one-on-one battle, Lin Feng would not be able to assassinate Yuan Yi, who had the absolute advantage in terms of domain and laws of space. But it was different now. Whoosh! The yin-yang universe ring appeared above the void, covering the ground. Although Meng Yuzi did not cultivate the Tao of space, the heavenly Tao of yin-yang he cultivated was superior to the heavenly Tao of space. It was perfect and flawless. Even in a region like the bright sky mystery realm, where spatial energy was abundant, Meng Yuzi's strength was not inferior to Yuan Yin's. His specialty was control. With him here, Yuan Yi could only dream of escaping. Let's end this. Lin Feng's attack arrived in an instant, his expression cold. There was no need to worry about Yuan Yi escaping. The result of an all-out battle was obvious. In a short while, Lin Feng killed Yuan Yi, who was at the end of his rope. In the Black Diamond Mountains, Yin Yin's unwilling screams reverberated. He had already died without a burial place. The storage ring floated in the void. Lin Feng swung his saber and directly sent it, along with Yin Yin's heavenly Tao supreme treasure, flying towards Yuzi. Smack! The latter caught it and put away. The yin-yang universe ring disappeared, and so did Lin Feng's fighting spirit and bloodshot eyes. Happy working with you. Meng Yuzi looked at Lin Feng with a smile. Happy working with you. Lin Feng returned a smile as his gaze fell on his left arm. After killing 2 mid-level standard experts in a row, his virtual yellow core had long surpassed 100. He could open the 5th level of the treasure vault, and it was far more than that. Both Bing Mai and Yuan Yi had virtual green cores, which meant that he could open the 4th level of the treasure vault. Killing the 2 of them gave him a total of 12 virtual green cores, which was equivalent to 120 virtual yellow cores. He had accumulated 200 virtual yellow cores. Both of them were the best of the mid-level standard participants, so they naturally had many treasures and virtual yellow cores. Killing one of them was equivalent to killing 10 of them. I took a small advantage. Lin Feng waved his left hand. You paid more than me. It's reasonable. Meng Yuzi smiled. Yuan Yin's treasures are about the same value as Bing Mai's. We'll take 1 each. There's no need to split them. Small profit. Lin Feng said. Yuan Yi is always scheming. He's too greedy. Meng Yuzi looked at Yuan Yin's corpse and sighed softly. Because he's not as smart as you. Lin Feng looked at Meng Yuzi. This man in a Taoist robe looked elegant and harmless, but he had a delicate heart. He was very smart and knew how to judge the situation. Right after Yuan Yi came to find him, Meng Yuzi came and directly asked for cooperation. He even promised that if Yuan Yi did not turn around and attack him after killing Bing Mai, their cooperation would fall through. He could even work with Yuan Yi to kill him. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't refuse this kind of cooperation that had 100 benefits and no disadvantages. No matter how things developed, he was the one who benefited. But even so, he had kept a trump card from the beginning to the end. He did not use the 6th tier of the Kuan Ling hard arrow. Yuan Yi did not know that even without Meng Yuzi's help, he could not beat him. Of course, with his attainments in space, it would be extremely difficult for him to kill him. And now, the result was perfect. Reality proved that Meng Yuzi was not Yuan Yi. He could be relied on. Even though Yi Shiwen was seriously injured, Meng Yuzi did not attack him. Even though Yi Shiwen was not afraid of him. People were mutual. Since the other party had no ill intentions, Lin Feng would not treat him with malice. Chapter 23:47. Brother Lin, what do you plan to do after this? Yin Yuzi asked with a smile. If you don't, why don't you stay here with me and cultivate peacefully? We can be companions. Lin Feng smiled. Brother Yun, you're afraid you can't do it alone. Yin Yuzi laughed. I can't hide it from you, Brother Lin. But you and I have worked together before, and we have good chemistry. It's not a bad thing to form an alliance and trust each other. In the depths of the bright sky's secret realm, such alliances are common. Lin Feng nodded. Two fists can't fight four hands. When the time comes, he would have to be careful when he continued to explore. Brother Yun, how long have you been here? Lin Feng asked. Just a few tens of thousands of years. There's still a long time before the mission. Yin Yuzi shook his head and said, but the high standard mission is just a threshold to the final 3 stages. What do you mean? Lin Feng asked curiously. Yin Yuzi looked at Lin Feng. Brother Lin, are you not here to join the 7th Mercenary Alliance and the Time Virtual Company? No. Lin Feng shook his head. Yin Yuzi was slightly startled, then laughed involuntarily. The main purpose of the Time Virtual Realm Survival Challenge is to select promising young talents for the 2 magnates. In fact, every newcomer who joins the 2 magnates, with the exception of a few super geniuses, must enter the Time Virtual Realm and reach at least the intermediate standard mission. Lin Feng understood. So it was a talent selection mechanism. But very few can enter the 2 magnates at the intermediate standard. Usually, only those who reach the high standard title will be selected by the 2 magnates. Normally, the probability is 10 to 20%, Yin Yuzi said. This includes some experts who reach the high standard. The 2 magnates appear at the same time to recruit them. Fifth, the overall recruitment rate of the Time Virtual Realm is 27% for participants who reach the high standard. Yin Yuzi said, but even if you're not directly recruited, there are many benefits to reaching the high standard. When the time comes, as long as you become a higher divine lord, you can join the 5 magnates without any mission requirements. All 5 magnates? Lin Feng was surprised. Qi Yuzi said, of course. The high standard title of the Time Void Realm Survival Challenge is very valuable. You can actually apply to join the 5 great leaders when you're a mid-level divine lord. If you're lucky, you'll be able to get a slot. Lin Feng nodded. Then what about the last 3 stages? Qiu Yuzi said, above the high standard title are the top, perfect, and super perfect titles. There are very few people who can reach these 3 titles. Once you reach the top standard title, there's a 100% chance that you can join one of the 2 magnates, and you are free to choose. Even if you don't want to join one of the 2 magnates, you will still be in high demand outside. Once the title reaches the perfect standard, the 2 giants will extend an olive branch to you and invite you to join them with generous benefits. And if you achieve a perfect title, TSK, Qi Yuzi smiled and said, that's not something we can imagine. My goal is the top-tier standard title. Of course, if the 7th Mercenary Alliance can recruit me when I reach the high-tier standard title, I will leave. Lin Feng smiled and said, so Brother Kuei is aiming for the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Qi Yuzi smiled. What about Brother Lin? Lin Feng said, I plan to join the Steelbone Spaceship Company. Qi Yuzi was slightly taken aback. A first-class organization? Looking at the symbol on Lin Feng's body, Qi Yuzi frowned slightly. With Brother Lin's talent and aptitude, you already have such strength at the basic standard. If you reach the advanced standard, the 2 magnates will most likely send people to recruit you. Your future is limitless, so why choose to join a first-class organization? Lin Feng was puzzled. Is the Steel Bones Spaceship Company not good? It's not that it's bad. Qi Yuzi looked at Lin Feng. For those Empyrean gods and almighty experts who don't have high aspirations, the Steel Bones Spaceship Company and the other first-class organizations are quite good. In terms of benefits and status, they're above the 5 magnates. But, Brother Lin, is your ambition only at the peak of the almighty level in the Xing Feng astral plane? Lin Feng was silent. He wanted to join the Steel Bone Spaceship Company more because of his first impression and also because he was not familiar with the other organizations in the Xing Feng astral plane. It was not a must to join. I'd like to hear more. Lin Feng was not a stubborn person, so he would naturally listen to good advice. Qi Yuzi nodded and was not stingy. Brother Lin has opened the treasury before, so you should know that the heavenly treasury is divided into myriad phenomena heavenly way and universe heavenly way but the universe heavenly way column is gray, right? Yes, Lin Feng replied. Chi Yuzi said, the so-called universe heavenly way includes death, life, destruction, and other heavenly ways. It's on the same level as time and space, and far surpasses the ordinary myriad phenomena and laws of the universe. Only by cultivating and fusing the universe heavenly way can one reach the limits of the universe, and even break through the Tao. This is the cultivation path of a venerable. These universe heavenly way laws and cultivation methods are not available to first-class organizations. Even if they do, they are incomplete and rare. Only the 5 magnates truly possess them. Universe heavenly way. Lin Feng's heart was surging. When he was cultivating the myriad Qian Dao, his ancestor had recorded that he should cultivate the first 5 heavens of the 9 heavens of light and darkness. Even though the 9 heavens of light and darkness could reach the limits of the universe, it could only prove the Tao and not break through the Tao. To break through the Tao, one had to choose other heavenly way cultivation methods. Brother Lin, do you know why the Mercenary Alliance is called the 7th Mercenary Alliance? Chi Yuzi asked. No. Lin Feng was also very curious. Chi Yuzi said, because the Xing Feng astral realm belongs to the 7th divine realm, the Mercenary Alliance is called the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Its power is not only limited to the Xing Feng astral realm, but also spread across the 29,999 astral realms of the 7th divine realm. The 7th divine realm, 29,999 astral realms. Lin Feng was shocked. The Xing Feng astral realm was only one of them. Chi Yuzi said, only the 5 magnates are the true superpowers of the 7th divine realm. As for the other first-class organizations, they're just natives of the Xing Feng astral realm. They're too weak. Brother Lin, do you understand? Phew, Lin Feng let out a long sigh. The information he had gained from this was quite large. If he had not met Chi Yuzi, he would probably still be in the clouds. Without a teacher to guide him, he had to rely on himself to figure out everything. Sometimes he did not know what the future held. But now, it was as if the clouds had parted and it was much clearer. Listening to your words is better than reading for 10,000 years. Lin Feng sighed and bowed slightly. Thank you, Brother Chi. This advice had brought him back to the right path from almost going astray. After joining the Steel Bone Spaceship Company, the destination was already clear, but it was not what he wanted. Only joining the 5 magnates, becoming a venerable, and entering the 7th divine realm was the path he truly wanted to take. Like his ancestor, he had to surpass the limits of the universe and reach the limits of the universe. Prove the Tao first, then break through the Tao. Chapter 2348. Lin Feng stayed in the Black Diamond Mountain Range for the time being. First of all, there was still a long way to go. He had nearly 3,000 years to go. Second of all, he and Mang Yuzi were close friends. Plus, he had gotten a lot of useful information from Mang Yuzi. Even if he wanted to cultivate, he couldn't just bury himself in it and ignore the world. Remember the 4 great warriors in the Bright Sky Secret Territory. If you meet them, stay away from them. Not only do they have the fighting power of a high-level Divine Lord, but they are also the best of the high-level Divine Lords. They have been recruited by the 2 great forces. They just want to train themselves and get higher titles. First of all, the Phantom Killer Li Kongxiu. Just like the Moon Demon Sword Feiqing, he has killed high-level standard warriors in a head-on battle. Therefore, he is the most famous, but he is not the strongest here. 2 of the 4 great warriors in the Bright Sky Secret Territory are as strong as him. The Ace Tai Ju and the white-winged Angel Yin Chi don't want to kill you. You may have a chance to survive if you meet them. The strongest of the 4 is the Nightmare Devil Puppet. Even the other 3 have to take a detour if they encounter him. Devil experts are bloodthirsty and cruel. If they encounter him, there is almost no way out. Fortunately, the Nightmare Devil Puppet is about to complete his mission and will leave soon. The Phantom Killer Li Kongxiu, the Ace Tai Ju, the white-winged Angel Yin Shi, and the strongest nightmare demon puppet. Lin Feng remembered. This information was very useful to him. Of course, it is not just the four great warriors. In fact, in the depths of the Bright Sky secret territory, the most dangerous ones aren't them. Instead, it is the middle-level participants who form alliances. 2 of them are okay, but in groups of 3 to 5, or even 10, they're the most terrifying. Because you won't even have a chance to escape. In my opinion, Brother Lin, once you find the Bright Sky Star, come back immediately and complete the middle-level mission first. Then, open the 5th floor of the treasury in exchange for some heavenly law treasures to increase your fighting power. When the Nightmare Demon Puppet finishes his mission and leaves, you and I can explore the Bright Sky secret territory together. Don't worry. The high-level mission has 100,000 years. It is much longer than the middle-level mission. Meng Yuzi suggested. I'll think about it seriously, brother. Lin Feng smiled as he bid farewell. After living in the Black Diamond Mountain Range for 1,000 years, it was time for him to leave. After all, the luminous star was a quest item. He had to obtain at least one. As for Qi Yuzi's suggestion, it was indeed a feasible plan. However, in comparison, he preferred to be alone and unrestrained. Qi Yuzi's goal was to join the 2 magnates, but Qi Yuzi himself wanted to temper himself and improve his strength. As for whether or not he could join the 2 giants, that was a matter for the future. There was no need to join just for the sake of joining. Rather than pandering to others, it was more direct and practical to improve oneself. Deep in, Lin Feng now had a good understanding of the Bright Sky secret realm. The deeper one went, the closer one got to the core of the secret realm, the denser the spatial energy. Of course, the more dangerous it was. In the deepest part of the secret realm, there were even secret realm lords. Killing it was equivalent to directly completing the mission. Of course, the premise was that it was a solo kill. This was because the eyes of the Lord of the Secret Land were the stars in the sky. Killing the Lord was equivalent to obtaining a star in the sky. Naturally, the quest would be completed. The deeper one goes, the denser the spatial energy is, and the easier it is for luminous stars to be born. According to Brother Qi Yuzi, luminous stars are formed by gathering the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and the unique energy of the Bright Sky secret realm. Therefore, the chances of obtaining a luminous star in the deepest part of the secret realm are much higher. He was not as lucky as Wang Hui, who had picked up a star as soon as he exited the secret realm. He did not want to waste time wandering around outside, so he went straight to the deepest part of the secret realm. As long as he did not die, he would definitely gain something. The 4 experts should all be in the deepest part of the secret realm. I hope I won't run into them for now. Lin Feng smiled. To be honest, with his current strength, he was still not a match for the 4 experts. At most, he was on par with Qi Yuzi and Yuan Yin. They were all hiding outside, so it was not difficult to see. However, by the time he became a participant of the intermediate standard, he might have the strength to fight the 4 experts. The streams were deep, the mountains were majestic, and the deserts were endless. Following the changes in spatial energy, Lin Feng went all the way and soon went deep. Along the way, he killed 2 intermediate standard participants. Battles were common. The frequency of encountering intermediate standard participants here was much higher than outside. However, it was easy to defeat them, but difficult to kill them. These intermediate standard participants often had strong life-saving abilities. After all, they had all opened the 3rd floor of the secret realm and above. It was not difficult to exchange for a heavenly Tao Supreme treasure that could save their lives. Mystic Territory Overlord. Lin Feng searched everywhere. It shouldn't be hard to find a Mystic Territory Overlord. Normally, in a huge mountain range, a majestic ocean, or a boundless grassland, there would always be a Mystic Territory Overlord unless it was killed. Because they were lords, they controlled a huge territory. Whoosh! Lin Feng stepped into a huge primeval forest covered by towering trees. His intuition told him that there must be a secret realm lord here. It had been hundreds of years since he came out of the Black Diamond Mountain Range. Judging from the location, he should be deep inside. It was time to get the luminous stars. However, both Secret Realm guards and Secret Realm lords were the same as Emptiness Realm beasts. They did not have any aura or energy, so it was impossible to distinguish them. The primeval forest was so big. It was impossible to keep the domain open and waste energy. Also, the energy waves of the domain were too big. It would attract the attention of other experts. Ta! Ta! Lin Feng carefully ran through the primeval forest. His eyes were like torches. His right hand drew an arc. The light and dark energy intertwined and killed an Emptiness Realm beast attached to a blue tree. Now that he had experience, he could distinguish them even with his naked eye. As he went further, the primeval forest became denser and denser. There were more Emptiness Realm beasts, but they could not stop Lin Feng. Hua! In a corner of the forest, a pitch-black murderous eye flashed. It looked in the direction Lin Feng went. The leaves rustled. The strange figure turned into a few rays of light and disappeared instantly. Lin Feng went deeper and deeper. The energy in front of him was turbulent and dense. It faintly flashed with a strange rhythm. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes brightened. He saw a huge creature in front of him. It was covered in green armor and had two spiral horns on its head. It released spatial energy. It did not have eyes. It only had a bright star that seemed to provide it with endless energy. Luminous stars. Lin Feng unsheathed his black dagger. It was like a black dragon opening its bloody mouth. He attacked directly. It was as fast as lightning. The huge creature in front of him was the Secret Realm Lord. Chapter 2349. In the center of the primeval forest, a giant silver tree stood proudly, as if it was the emperor of the trees. In the shade of the tree that covered the sky, there was a dwarf man who was only 2 meters tall. His face could not be seen because of the mask, but a terrifying, murderous aura could be faintly felt. He was Li Kongxiu, who was famous in the Bright Sky Secret Territory. People had only heard of his name, but had never seen him. Anyone who had seen him had been killed. Whoosh! A pair of eyes opened, and green light burst out. Li Kongxiu bent his body like a wolf ready to hunt. He turned strangely and stood in the shade of the tree, looking into the distance. You dare to kill the Lord of the Secret Territory in my territory? You don't know what's good for you. His voice was cold. Li Kongxiu suddenly turned, spinning like a top. His thin body was sucked into the space ripples and disappeared in an instant. Pong! Boom! At this time, in the primeval forest, Lin Feng was fighting with the Lord of the Secret Territory. They were evenly matched, and the fight was fierce. What a strong space control ability. This was Lin Feng's first time fighting against the Lord of the Mystic Realm, and he had no prior experience. As soon as he clashed with it, he knew that this behemoth was not to be trifled with. Although it was large and seemed to move slowly, its explosive power was extremely strong. 1 minute short, 1 minute long. Its attack and defense were excellent, and the only thing it lacked was speed, which was completely covered by its mysterious space mastery. This was the Bright Sky Secret Territory, and the space energy was very strong. In addition, the Lord of the Secret Territory's energy came from the Bright Sky Star, so it was inexhaustible. If one space mastery was inferior to the Lord of the Secret Territory, the battle would be very difficult. For example, Lin Feng now. The Blood Demon River domain could not be used because there were broken space turbulence everywhere. The Blood Demon River seemed to have entered a different dimension and was divided into countless sections. Soul attacks were also useless. The Lord of the Secret Territory was the same as the Secret Territory's guards, and they were not afraid of soul attacks. Lin Feng could only rely on his blade, art, to fight with force. His strength was greatly reduced. The key is to get close. As long as I can get close to it, the power of its spatial manipulation ability will be greatly reduced. Although its defense is strong, its speed is slow, and its close combat ability will definitely be much inferior. Lin Feng increased the intensity of his attacks, constantly flashing about, searching for the Secret Realm Overlord's weakness. However, the Lord of the Arcana Realm seemed to know its weakness. It didn't give Lin Feng any chance to strike. Every time he got close, the space around him would shatter, recombine, and spin again. They had the absolute advantage in terms of time and place. It's somewhat troublesome. Lin Feng blocked and retreated, but his expression remained the same. There was no trace of panic on his face. In his current state, the Lord of the Mystic Realm wasn't really that strong. Although defeating it would take him some effort and cost him some effort, he was still quite confident that he would succeed. After all, the Lords of Mystic Realms were the same as the Guardians of Mystic Realms. Right at this moment, ding, a chill ran down his spine, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. An extremely terrifying feeling of fear descended, as if the Grim Reaper's scythe was swinging down. The Blood Demon River began to boil. Someone launched a sneak attack. Bang! Lin Feng took a direct hit from the Lord of the Mystic Realm. His chest caved in, and he was slightly injured. However, he managed to shift his position, increasing the distance between him and the Lord of the Mystic Realm. Chi! Chi! The space where Lin Feng had been was cut into pieces, and the space collapsed. Two shiny silver daggers suddenly appeared, looking like the devil's twin forks. Accompanying the two daggers was a midget wearing a mask, emitting a murderous aura. Li Kongxiu. Lin Feng already knew the characteristics of the four great experts, including their strength. The Li Kongxiu in front of him, who was famous in the Bright Sky Secret Realm, was very easy to recognize. He was only 2 meters tall, but that didn't mean that he was weak. On the contrary, Li Kongxiu's strength was quite terrifying. According to Chu Yuzi, he was already an outstanding figure among the upper divine lords. If he saw him, he would run as far as he could. However, could he really escape? Grave of the Triangle. Lin Feng directly attacked. What a joke! Li Kongxiu's attainments in space were even more terrifying than the Lord of the Mystic Realm. With his own attainments in space, how could he escape? Rather than passively take a beating, it was better to try and see how strong Li Kongxiu was. Whoosh! The Bermuda Triangle passed through Li Kongxiu's afterimage. Lin Feng frowned. Two silver daggers appeared in front of his eyes. Schwa, 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 schwa. The daggers seemed to cut through space, forcing him into a dead end. 10-star alignment. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't sit still and wait for death. His magic arm had already reached the 5th gear, and his blood-red eyes stimulated his soul, erupting with his strongest battle strength. Blood Demon River and 10-star alignment were simultaneously controlled. At this moment, Lin Feng felt that he had grasped a bit of space. Roar! On the other side, the Lord of the Mystic Realm had already arrived. As if it had locked onto Lin Feng, it opened its mouth and spat out a spatial energy bullet. Lin Feng blocked the attack, and Li Kongxiu's strange figure appeared behind him, his cold blade terrifying. Chi! The dazzling light armor's defense was instantly shattered, and even Li Kongxiu's inner armor was slightly damaged. The pincer attack caused Lin Feng to be battered and exhausted. In the next moment, Li Kongxiu's figure appeared above him, and two rays of light fell from the sky. One aimed at his throat, the other aimed at his heart. Concise, direct, decisive. Li Kongxiu's strength was undoubtedly displayed in a short moment, and he was worthy of being called one of the four great experts. Pong! The battle blade Black Scorpion exploded with power, and Lin Feng borrowed the force to retreat. His wrist was numb, and his chest was constricted. Blood flowed out from the cracks in his inner armor, and he suffered heavy injuries. One-on-one, it would be difficult to win against Li Kongxiu, let alone one against two. The Lord of the Mystic Realm had locked onto him, and one after another, he spat out spatial energy bullets, roaring endlessly. Lin Feng was forced back by Li Kongxiu, and his eyes flashed with light. The 6th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow was ready, and it was almost an instinctive reaction. His body suddenly twisted, and he went straight for the bottom. Boom! The soul attack was like a sharp awl, fiercely hitting Li Kongxiu's sea of consciousness. Even someone as strong as Li Kongxiu felt dizzy from the sudden attack. Chi! The battle blade Black Scorpion's power quickly exploded, and it blocked the attack of the Lord of the Mystic Realm. Lin Feng gritted his teeth, and he followed the inertia to enter the attack range of the Lord of the Mystic Realm. The oncoming claw bombarded him, shattering his dazzling light armor, and even a small part of his inner armor. Blood spurted out, and the pain was shocking. Dying. Lin Feng's blood-red eyes shot out extreme power. An astonishing, murderous aura condensed. An array of light appeared in front of the Lord of the Mystic Realm. The light and darkness bloodlines intertwined and exploded, and the blade light was divided into countless parts, like a fairy scattering flowers, dense and terrifying. The attack was close at hand, and Black Scorpion directly tore the Lord of the Mystic Realm into pieces. Pa! Lin Feng grabbed Luminous Star. Li Kongqiu's terrifying attack came from below, and the space energy engulfed everything, as if it wanted to devour everything. However, Lin Feng's figure turned into a ray of light, and he instantly disappeared. Intermediate Standard Mission completed. Chapter 2350. Top AI Independent Space. Wah! Lin Feng's body flashed and appeared with a hint of blood. That was close. Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief. He almost had to flee for his life, and he didn't even know if he could escape. Facing Li Kongqiu, who had extremely high attainments in space, he didn't have the slightest confidence that he could escape from him. This time I have to choose a life-saving treasure. I can't put all my eggs in one basket. Lin Feng thought to himself. Confidence was a must, but he couldn't leave himself a way out. After all, the Xingfeng astral world was vast, and there were many who were stronger than him. Just a fifth times emptiness realm alone was enough to crush him. Li Kongqiu is only one of the 4 great warriors in the Guangkong secret area. In the entire fifth time, there are 7 normal secret areas. And above these 7 normal secret areas, there are many who have reached the advanced standard title, the top standard title, and the perfect standard title. Congratulations, participant. You have completed the intermediate standard of the survival challenge of the time domain. Please wait. The emotionless voice of the top AI still echoed in his mind, but there was no reward on the screen. This made Lin Feng puzzled. He didn't know what was going on. According to the usual practice, shouldn't there be a series of rewards? Could it be that he completed it the wrong way? Virtual Universe Company, the top AI cabin. In the control room of the 5th time domain, the white-haired youth He Quan stood up and frowned as he looked at the screen in front of him. His left hand clenched into a fist and pressed against his lips. He was deep in thought. In front of him, dozens of technicians were busy, and there were also 4 members of the Virtual Universe Company who were whispering to each other. 5 people in a group with a group leader. He Quan is the leader of the first group. He is directly under the Virtual Universe Company's 5th time domain manager, Cheng Weigua. As the leader, He Quan's task is to monitor the 5th time domain and find and uncover potential newcomers to recruit. Lin Feng is the first group of newcomers to monitor. Starting from the intermediate standard title, the Virtual Universe Company and the 7th Mercenary Alliance have the right to recruit newcomers. Of course, the newcomers who reach the intermediate standard must be extraordinary geniuses. Not only are their potential recognized, but their mission completion rate is also very high. Time Virtual Company's fixed recruitment criteria for intermediate titles is 1. Obtain all the quest items from the 7 normal secret realms. 2. Accumulates 1 virtual blue core, which is equivalent to 100 virtual yellow cores. 3. Kill 10 intermediate standard contestants. If any 2 of the 3 criteria were met, the virtual company would send someone to recruit them. In terms of fixed standards, it's actually not up to par. That's right. The number of participants he's killed is 9. He's still missing 1, not to mention the normal mission items. But I think it's a bonus. Firstly, he obtained more than 1 virtual blue core. Secondly, the participants he killed at the intermediate standard were quite strong. Thirdly, he killed the Lord of the Secret Realm head-on. You barely meet the recruitment criteria. You can be lenient. No, rules are rules. If word of this gets out, what would the other participants think? If he really has the ability, it won't be too late to recruit him after he obtains the title of Advanced Standard. Advanced Standard title? Maybe the 7th Mercenary Alliance will start recruiting now. All the good seedlings will be taken by them. Their standards are similar to ours. Lin Feng didn't meet the requirements either. Their quota for this era is almost full. They're recruiting in advance for intermediate standard titles. One person will take up 10 spots. Are they willing? The 4 team members kept talking. He Quan's frown deepened. As the team leader, he naturally had the final authority, but he also had to be responsible for his own decisions. After all, there were a total of 10 teams. There were tests and results. Not only would it determine his future promotion, but it would also determine his rewards and company resources. Their Time Virtual Company and the 7th Mercenary Alliance had a fixed quota for every era. Those who were recruited in advance for intermediate standard titles took up 10 spots. To take the risk or not? You guys wait here. He Quan put down his left hand and said indifferently. Then, he stepped out of the control room. Although Boss Chengwei didn't really approve of Lin Feng, he felt that Lin Feng was a talent. Even if he didn't meet the recruitment criteria for intermediate standard, it was still worth a try. In the independent space, Lin Feng was confused. Suddenly, there was a ripple in the space, as if he had stepped into a different dimension. A white-haired youth with a lazy aura appeared in front of him. His eyes were bright as he looked at him. The corners of his mouth were faintly raised. Upper Divine Lord, and his battle strength was hard to estimate. Although Lin Feng's current fighting strength had already reached the threshold of a high-level Divine Lord, there was still a large gap between him and a genuine high-level Divine Lord. Just by looking at Li Kongqiu, it could be seen that Li Kongqiu's fighting strength was only outstanding among the high-level Divine Lords. But the white-haired youth in front of him was already an upper Divine Lord. As for his battle strength, the members of the Time Virtual Company all came out from the survival challenge. Their battle strength was definitely much stronger than their current strength. If Li Kongqiu faced him, he would be killed instantly. Hello, my name is Iquan. I'm the first team leader of the 5th virtual realm of the Time Virtual Company. The white-haired youth smiled and pointed at the badge on his chest, indicating his identity. Hello, Lin Feng. Lin Feng bowed. He had already known the other party's identity from the badge. Thinking about what Chu Yuzi had told him before, the doubts in his heart disappeared. It seemed that the Time Virtual Company wanted to recruit him in advance. It was a pleasant surprise. I believe you already know why I'm here. I'll get straight to the point. He Quan smiled and said, Lin Feng, are you willing to join the Time Virtual Company and become a member? We'll give you the resources and training of a level 1 newcomer. I won't go into the details. You can see for yourself. He Quan pressed a button lightly. On the huge screen in front of the top-grade AI, a series of information appeared, including all kinds of rules and benefits. 1. Choose any top-grade Heavenly Law treasure weapon, any top-grade Heavenly Law treasure armor, and 3 high-grade Heavenly Law treasures. 2. Receive source fluid for free until you become a venerable. 3. Receive the qualification to enter the virtual Heavenly Law Palace. 17. Receive 10,000 universe crystals as a starting reward. After that, you'll receive 1,000 universe crystals as a reward every era. 18. Receive the qualification to enter the 7th Hidden Venerable Assembly's elimination round. There were a total of 18 rewards, each of which was quite eye-catching. Lin Feng sighed in amazement. This was the courage and skill of one of the 5 great leaders. Although the recruitment requirements were harsh, as long as one met the requirements, they wouldn't be stingy with their material needs. They would give you more than you could imagine. Chapter 23:51. After the rewards, there were some rules. Time Virtual Company, as one of the 5 giants dominating the 7th Divine World, naturally had a complete system, including the training of newcomers, including strict rules. Becoming a member of Time Virtual Company, one naturally had to follow the arrangements. Lin Feng was naturally interested in joining the Time Virtual Company. Previously, he had chatted with Chu Yuzi in detail and had already confirmed his thoughts. Steelbone Universe Ship Company was good, but as Chu Yuzi said, it was only a large power in Xingfeng Astral World. His goal was not just Xingfeng Astral World, but to become a venerable and enter the 7th Divine World. Time Virtual Company was undoubtedly one of the best choices. Swish, swish. Lin Feng carefully read the rules. Compared to the various rich and colorful rewards, Lin Feng paid more attention to the rules of Time Virtual Company. Because the rewards would not change, knowing or not knowing would always be the same. But if one did not read the rules clearly, they would not even know if they were sold. Of course, with Time Virtual Company's large business, they would not do such a thing. To them, anyone below venerable was like a newborn baby needing a large amount of resources to train. In fact, it was indeed so. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me. Hequan crossed his arms and smiled faintly. As for Lin Feng, he rather admired him. He wasn't like what Bustling had said, that he wouldn't be able to achieve great things. Instead, he believed that a true powerhouse should not only rely on their fists, but learn how to solve problems more easily and judge the situation. Including the last battle between Lin Feng and Li Kongxiu, he had seen it all. Indeed, Lin Feng was not as good as Li Kongxiu. There was a gap in all aspects. At the intermediate standard, Li Kongxiu had already met all 3 special requirements and could directly become a level 1 newcomer of Time Virtual Company. Even the 7th Mercenary Alliance came to snatch him. But Hequan believed that Lin Feng's potential was not worse than Li Kongxiu's, and might even be better. He just needed enough time and patience. Group Leader Lin Feng raised his head and looked at a rule on the screen. He asked, a level 1 newcomer must first enter the Eternal Earth Secret Realm to be nurtured and become a high-level divine lord before leaving. What does this mean? Hequan smiled and said, about that, it's actually just a training camp. Normally, you'll be out after a few eras. Newcomers, get to know each other and spar. Familiarize yourselves with the various aspects of the virtual company. After all, anyone who can become a level 1 newcomer is at least at the Divine Master level. However, people like you, Lin Feng, who are only intermediate heavenly gods, are few and far between. With Hequan's strength, he could easily see through Lin Feng's life rating. Actually, the Eternal Earth Secret Realm is especially important for level 1 newbies who have yet to fully awaken their bloodlines and have a low life level. That's because they can enjoy unlimited resources there, even precious bloodline resources that can help them awaken their bloodlines and raise their life level. The moment they leave the Eternal Earth Secret Realm, they will have to spend large amounts of cosmos crystals to purchase them. Enjoy unlimited resources and improve his bloodline. Lin Feng sighed. The 18 rewards for newcomers did not include any bloodline resources or treasures. The Time Virtual Company was really generous. However, it made sense. As one of the 5 great giants of the 7th divine world, wealth was nothing but an illusion to them. After entering the Eternal Earth Secret Realm, one must be a high-level divine master before they can leave? Lin Feng asked. Hequan looked at Lin Feng and said, yes, if you're a special level newcomer, you must reach the peak of the divine master level before you can leave. A level 1 newcomer must be a high-level divine master. However, there's everything in the secret realm. Most newcomers would be overjoyed and would not be willing to leave in the end. Looking at Lin Feng's expression, Hequan knew what he was worried about. He was quite puzzled. Lin Feng was hesitant. With his current bloodline, he would need a long time to become a low-level divine master. If he wanted to raise his life rating to a high-level divine master, it would take an indefinite amount of time. He would need at least 100,000 years to succeed. He did not have the slightest confidence. If he entered the Eternal Earth Secret Realm, he would have to finish everything he needed to do first. It didn't matter if he delayed his revenge for his teacher, but he couldn't wait for the Milky Way super black hole. May I ask clan leader can I exchange a portion of the newcomer benefits for Universe Spring of Life? Lin Feng asked. Universe Spring of Life? Hequan was slightly startled. He seemed to have understood something and said, it shouldn't be a problem, but how much do you want? I can make the decision within 5 bottles. 5 bottles? Lin Feng didn't know what 5 bottles was, so he said, I want 10 bottles of Universe Spring of Life. 10 bottles. Hequan was a little stunned. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he smiled bitterly. I can't make the decision. Not just me, Even boss can't make the decision. Lin Feng, do you know how many universe crystals one bottle of universe spring of life costs? Is it very expensive? Lin Feng could already tell from Leader He's tone. He Quan said, even if I sell all my assets, it won't be enough. Universe Spring of Life is a treasure unique to the Yellow Spring Secret Realm. It's too rare and too precious. In the Time Virtual Company, one bottle of Universe Spring of Life costs 10,000 universe crystals. It's at least a few times more outside, and there's a price but no supply. If it's one bottle, it'll cost 1 million universe crystals. This is already the starting price of a Peak Heaven's Path absolute treasure. One bottle for 1 million universe crystals. Lin Feng was quite shocked when he heard this. He didn't expect Universe Spring of Life to be so expensive. But actually, thinking about it, the Milky Way super black hole was so huge and a 9-star life planet was so precious. To be able to revive such a life form from the universe origin, one could imagine the price. You get what you pay for. Then, can I join the Time Virtual Company later? Lin Feng hesitated and asked. This? He Quan frowned slightly. It's a little against the rules. The company has its rules and regulations, and even boss can't be an exception. I can make the decision, but at most I can give you one era. 10,000 years might not be enough. Lin Feng shook his head. He Quan scratched his head and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Usually, when he recruited new people at the intermediate standard, all of them would be overjoyed. Some of them would even cry and couldn't wait to join the Time Virtual Company. People like Lin Feng were too rare. Since that's the case, let's talk about it later, Leader He. Lin Feng smiled and declined. Although joining the 5 giants was important, there were some things that were more important. Anything could be accommodated, but this was related to the Milky Way galaxy. He couldn't ignore it, and he couldn't take the risk and stay out of it. He still had to rely on himself for everything. Since he couldn't get the benefits for new people, he would use his own strength to get it from the Time Virtual Realm Survival Challenge. 10 bottles of Universe Spring of Life, 10 million universe crystals. Although it was an astronomical figure, Lin Feng saw hope. Chapter 2352. 10 million cosmos crystals. There were 7 standard titles in the Time Void Realm Survival Challenge. Among them, the highest grade, ultra-perfect title had a prize of 10 million cosmos crystals. In addition, according to his bet, if he achieved the ultra-perfect title, his bet would be 2010000 cosmos crystals. 20 million cosmos crystals. If other lower god masters could achieve the ultra-perfect title, why couldn't he? Even if his strength was weak now, Lin Feng was confident. The only problem was that he didn't have enough time. According to the time listed in the first 7 standard titles, achieving the ultra-perfect title required one to survive in the 5th Time Void Realm for 1 million years. This far exceeded the amount of time he had left. Even if he achieved the ultra-perfect title, he would need to survive for 100,000 years. Looking at the beginner's standard title and intermediate standard title challenge, the survival time can be reduced. It's impossible to reduce it by 90%, but it's possible to reduce it by 20% to 30%, or even 45%. I don't need to pursue the ultra-perfect title. Achieving the ultra-perfect title should be enough. Lin Feng calculated in his heart. When he achieved the ultra-perfect title, he could earn 3 million cosmos crystals just from the prize and the bet. If he continued to improve and fought with other strong warriors, as long as he could survive, he could use the spoils of war to gather the remaining 7 million cosmos crystals. It was completely possible. Peak Heavenly Tao treasures were extremely rare, but one could be worth 2 million to 3 million cosmos crystals. The number of Peak Heavenly Tao treasures might be higher. As for joining the Time Virtual Company, he wasn't in a hurry. Even if he gave up the exemption from the direct recruitment, according to what Chu Yuzi said, as long as he achieved the ultra-perfect title, he could choose to join the 2 giants. Even if he wanted to, after leaving the Time Void Realm Survival Challenge, he could join the other 3 giants. Strength was the real reason. Have you really decided? He Quan looked at Lin Feng. Thank you for your kind intentions, team leader he. Lin Feng smiled and declined tactfully. All right then. He Quan sighed. He knew that such a genius would be very proud and wouldn't change his mind easily. However, he had seen many such cases. There were many who declined tactfully due to various reasons. For example, Li Kongqiu wanted to surpass Fei Qing and become the most outstanding person in this batch of Time virtual company members. For example, Fei Qing wanted to become a special newcomer and not a guaranteed first-grade newcomer. There were even some eccentric special newcomers who wanted to play in the Time Void realm for a while longer, to escape from their teacher's strict special training or to find a fated wife. There were all kinds of people. There was no need to persuade him. What would come would eventually come. He Quan was originally a carefree person, but he felt that it was a pity. After bidding farewell to Lin Feng, he immediately left. Time Virtual Company, He Quan's father leader He Quan. He didn't feel that it was a pity. Instead, it was a form of recognition. It proved that he had the ability to establish himself in the Xing Feng astral boundary and that he had the potential to be chosen by the 5 great leaders. Shua, Time Master, Title, Master Realm Master was Void Realm Perfect, Virtual Perfect, Master Title. 1000 Perfect, Sky God Perfect, Level Master, Time Master, Title, Level Master, Title, Ultra, Perfect Title, Ultra, Perfect Title, Title Master, Title, Ultra Perfect Title. If one joined a first-class organization, they would receive a large amount of resources and become an elite among elites. They would be heavily nurtured without regard to resources and costs. What a joke. How could a first-grade force not value intermediate standard contestants that even the 5 giants could recruit? Treasure Hall, Weapons Heavenly Manor, Steelbone Universe Ship Company, Limitless Creatures Group, First Bank, every offer was better than the last. Some offered top-notch Heavenly Dao treasures to choose from their treasure trove. Treasure Hall, some offered large amounts of Cosmos Crystals, 500,000 Cosmos Crystals as long as one joined. First Bank, for example. Ignoring the training conditions and prospects, the treatment of a first-grade force was much better than the 5 giants. Overall, Steelbone Universe Ship Company's treatment is not bad. They have money, treasures, and training resources. They are one of the best among the first-grade forces. Lin Feng Quan sighed. If not for Chu Yuzi's words, he would have joined Steelbone Universe Ship Company. But now it was all an illusion. Intermediate standard and above, the survival challenge has just begun. Lin Feng Quan's eyes flashed. He erased all the reward conditions of a first-grade force. His mind was firm. There were 3 more thresholds. Advanced Standard Title, Top-Notch Standard Title, and the Perfect Standard Title. Get the Perfect Standard Title and gather 10 million Cosmos Crystals. Lin Feng did not hesitate and directly opened the 4th floor of the treasury. Then, he scrolled down to the end and opened the 5th floor of the treasury. Virtual Blue Core. In the Intermediate Standard Survival Challenge, Lin Feng had killed 9 intermediate standard powerhouses and obtained a lot of virtual yellow cores. Even if he exchanged for one, he still had 3 virtual blue cores. He was only 7 virtual blue cores away from exchanging for virtual indigo cores. As long as he continued to participate in the survival challenge, it was only a matter of time before he opened the 6th floor of the treasury. In the 5th level of the Heavenly Axiom Treasury, there was a new 10,000 Heavenly Axiom of Nature. It was stronger, had a higher upper limit, and was harder to cultivate. However, the treasury of the Heavenly Axiom of the Universe was still gray and blurry. It was unknown which level would be opened. A treasure trove. Lin Feng directly entered the 5th level of the Battle Supreme Treasure House. On the 5th level, one could already purchase high-grade Heavenly Dao True Treasures. The starting price was 10,000 Cosmos Crystals, and the starting price was 90,000 Cosmos Crystals. There were also some middle-grade Heavenly Dao True Treasures that were priced at 20,000 to 30,000 Cosmos Crystals. The same type of middle-grade and high-grade Heavenly Dao True Treasures were priced at 20,000 Cosmos Crystals. One was easier to cultivate and faster to unleash its power. The other was more complicated but more powerful. It was up to the martial artist to choose. Let's see how many cosmos crystals I have. Lin Feng thought to himself. Nothing could be done without risk. The cosmos crystals he had now were only enough to buy a few bottles of universe spring of life. There was no need to keep them. Turning them into what he needed most, which was combat power, was the most effective way. The stronger his combat power, the more he would have to kill in the survival challenge, and the more spoils he would get. It was a positive cycle. Moreover, his current strength was still at the bottom. Survival was the most important thing. If he lost his life, he would have nothing left. Shua, shua, shua. Lin Feng quickly threw out the low-grade Heavenly Dao True Treasures, along with a few middle-grade Heavenly Dao True Treasures that he did not need, out of the independent space. On the screen above the top-notch AI, the price was clearly displayed, and the number kept rising. Soon, Lin Feng had exchanged for all the treasures that he did not need. The cosmos crystals on his temporary personal account also showed the final number. Chapter 2353. 87,660 cosmos crystals. Lin Feng nodded. Just the reward in bets for the intermediate standard was only 3,000 cosmos crystals. The real bulk came from killing the 9 intermediate standard contestants and the cosmos crystals he accumulated during the beginner standard. 87,660 cosmos crystals wasn't a lot. If he really wanted to buy it, he wouldn't be able to afford the most expensive high-grade Heaven's Path treasure on the 5th level, which was worth 90,000 cosmos crystals. But it wasn't a small amount. At least among the experts who had reached the intermediate standard, there weren't many who had it. A weapon and a life-saving treasure. Lin Feng already had a plan. Although He Teng had followed him for a long time, it was getting harder and harder for him to unleash his power, as his body was of the dark attribute. He Teng's use of the 9 heavens of light and darkness had always been hindered. It was better to be good at offense than defense. His physical body was strong enough. Although his defense wasn't strong, it wasn't weak. Rather than increasing his defense, which wasn't strong, it was better to increase his offense, which was already strong, to another level. With his soul-sensing ability, he could easily take the initiative in battle. Offense was more important than defense. Treasures of the light and dark attributes aren't very good. It's best if it's of the space attribute. Firstly, I have the Black Whirlpool, which can unleash the power of a spatial weapon. Secondly, my Black Whirlpool is originally a part of my bloodline and can perfectly fuse with my light and darkness bloodline without any repulsion. But spatial weapons are very expensive. Lin Feng frowned slightly. A high-grade Heaven's Path spatial weapon would start at 50,000 cosmos crystals. Most of them would start at 60,000 to 70,000 cosmos crystals. Those that were slightly better would start at 80,000 to 90,000 cosmos crystals. Among the Heaven's Path treasures, weapons, domains, and palaces usually started at twice the price. Space and time were Heaven's Path laws. Engraving secret engravings was harder and more powerful. Hence, the starting price would start at 2 to 3 times the price. Hence, a Heaven's Path treasure that was of the Space Heaven's Path and also a weapon type would naturally start at a high price. I don't have enough cosmos crystals now. After entering the Bright Sky Secret Realm, I'll immediately have a decisive battle. Compared to that, a life-saving Heaven's Path treasure is more important. It's not worth it to spend everything I have to buy a high-grade Heavenly Dao Cardinal Treasure spatial weapon. Firstly, my current space realm isn't high enough. Secondly, it's extremely difficult to grasp the Heaven Dao law of a high-grade Heaven's Path true treasure. It requires a huge amount of time. Thirdly, even if I use up all my cosmos crystals, the spatial weapon I purchase will only be above average among high-grade Heaven's Path true treasures. Lin Feng thought about it carefully. A true pinnacle high-grade Heavenly Dao spatial weapon would cost a few 100,000 cosmos crystals. Just like the mid-level Heaven's Path true treasure spatial weapons, the highest quality and value was 36,000 cosmos crystals, followed by 33,000 cosmos crystals, and the third was 30,000 cosmos crystals. Of the 3, only one was a saber. That's it. Without hesitation, Lin Feng exchanged for a middle-grade Heaven Dao true treasure spatial weapon worth 33,000 cosmos crystals, the only battle blade. Better be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. Similarly, a spatial weapon worth 33,000 cosmos crystals was the best amongst middle-grade Heaven's Dao true treasures, but it was the most ordinary amongst high-grade Heaven's Dao true treasures. Even though the power of a high-grade Heaven's Dao true treasure surpassed that of a middle-grade Heaven's Dao true treasure, the difficulty of comprehending it was similarly much higher. Without sufficient time to comprehend it, one wouldn't be able to unleash its full power, and it might not even be comparable to a middle-grade Heaven's Dao true treasure. Battle Blade, inescapable calamity. Lin Feng's consciousness seeped into it and immediately recognized it as its master. The spatial secret engravings on the top instantly lit up, lighting up the resplendent battle blade as though it was bestowed with soul and power. The secret engravings condensed a powerful demonic power, forming a perfect resonance with the black whirlpool. I like this name. Lin Feng smiled. Let's call it Calamity. Calamity had 3 layers of engravings. The first layer, Capture, was a 6th-level spatial secret technique. The second layer, Subdue, was a 7th-level spatial secret technique. And the third layer, Behead, was an 8th-level spatial secret technique, of which the second layer of engravings was a control-type secret technique, while the first and third layers were offensive secret techniques. Very good. After unlocking the first layer of engravings, it can unleash power that's not inferior to the battle blade, Black Centipede. Moreover, because it's a spatial attribute, it's more compatible with the black whirlpool and the light and darkness bloodline, and its power is even higher. Lin Feng was very satisfied. His spatial law realm wasn't high, and his cultivation attainments were ordinary. If it were a high-level spatial Heaven's Dao true treasure, the first layer of engravings would be a 7th-level spatial secret technique, and the difficulty of comprehending it would be greatly increased. After all, the ultimate ability of the Bermuda Triangle, Triangle Destruction, was only a 7th-level spatial secret technique, not an 8th-level one. However, he still couldn't comprehend it. Last time, I stayed here for 995 years. This time, I estimate that I can stay here for nearly 10,000 years. In addition to mastering the 7th level of the Kunling Hard Arrow, I should have enough time to comprehend Capture and unlock the first layer of engravings, Lin Feng thought to himself. Although there wasn't much spatial energy here, he had it. Wandering planets could provide a large amount of spatial energy, and it was inexhaustible. He could completely cultivate on his own. Unlocking the first layer of engravings didn't require much spatial energy. It was more about comprehension. Let's pick another life-saving treasure. Flying type, palace type, or special type. This time, Lin Feng directly bought high-level Heaven's Dao true treasures. The remaining 54,660 cosmos crystals were enough to buy a relatively good, life-saving high-level Heaven's Dao true treasure. Palace type and special type treasures would be more expensive, but no matter how expensive they were, they wouldn't be as expensive as a spatial weapon. Mystifying 3 Scissors Shuttle, high-level Heaven's Dao true treasure, 39,999 cosmos crystals, space flying type. When escaping, it will instantly burst out a layer of fog, changing the space, and the 3 Scissors Shuttle will split into 3. The controller can control it with his mind and enter any one of them at will. Note, controlling this Heaven's Dao true treasure requires extremely strong soul power and spatial attainments. Death Doll, high-level Heaven's Dao true treasure, 25,000 cosmos crystals, special type treasure. It can replace the host to receive a sure kill attack and replace the host's life. This is a one-time use item. Remember, once the enemy uses a control-type treasure, Death Doll will lose its effect. When the enemy's attack power far exceeds what Death Doll can withstand, it will also be ineffective. This treasure requires 10% soul power. After Death Doll disappears, the soul power will recover. Mystifying Sky Raging Flames Palace, high-level Heaven's Tao True Treasure, 48,000 Cosmos Crystals, Fire-type Palace type. This Palace-type treasure is refined with mystifying sky crystals that have been tempered for 10,000 years. Its defense power is extremely strong and can block all kinds of attacks. Its attack power has reached the peak of God Master Realm, and it can only be destroyed by continuous attacks. Furthermore, the palace itself can control flames to attack. It can attack and defend at the same time. Lin Feng scanned through the treasures one after another, and many of them were actually to his liking. However, he only had 54,660 Cosmos Crystals on him, and it was only enough to buy one. The quality of life-saving treasures was more important than quantity. To him, the most important thing was to choose the most suitable one. Oh! Suddenly, Lin Feng's gaze swept downwards, and his eyes lit up. Chapter 23:54. Mirage Countercurrent Eye, High-Grade Heavenly Tao True Treasure, 30,000 Cosmos Crystals, a special time-type treasure. This treasure was taken from the soul eye of the Mirage Desperate Beast and refined with time reversal carvings. The conditions to use it are relatively harsh, but the upper limit of its power is increased. When its power reaches its peak, not only can it release the strongest talent of the Mirage Desperate Beast, it can also release the secret technique of time reversal. Regardless of attack or escape, it is absolute. Note, this true treasure can be used 6 times, but now it can only be used twice. Lin Feng read it a few times and analyzed it carefully. This was it. After searching for a long time, he still couldn't find the most suitable one. This Mirage Countercurrent Eye was the most suitable one. Even though the price of a special treasure wasn't low, it didn't require much effort to control, and its power was extraordinary. Even though Cosmos crystals were expensive, it wasn't worth mentioning when compared to one's life. Mirage Countercurrent Eye, full price, 90,000 Cosmos crystals. But because it can only be used twice, it only costs 30,000 Cosmos crystals to purchase. It was quite worth it, because in essence, it was a treasure worth 90,000 Cosmos crystals, and he didn't need to use it 6 times. 2 times was enough. Lin Feng directly exchanged for it, and kept it into the Mirage Countercurrent Eye, smiling with satisfaction. After spending 30,000 Cosmos crystals, he was left with 24,660 Cosmos crystals. But he had already completed his previous plan and successfully exchanged for a powerful weapon and a life-saving true treasure. One for offense and one for defense, imperceptibly increasing his fighting power by a lot. Just like what Bayuzi said, after reaching the intermediate standard title, opening the treasury and exchanging for 2 suitable treasures, his fighting power would greatly increase by a level. The remaining 24,660 Cosmos crystals. Should he keep them? No. Spend them all. Lin Feng had his own clear plans. If it was before, he might have kept them, but now, every single Cosmos crystal had to be used on the edge of the blade, increasing his fighting power as much as possible. As long as his fighting power was strong enough, even if he spent all his Cosmos crystals, he could earn them back in a short period of time, or even more. Lin Feng browsed through the entire treasury. After opening the 5th level, almost all kinds of treasures appeared, especially the miscellaneous treasures, which were all-inclusive. The universal spring of life. Lin Feng soon saw it. A bottle of Cosmos Spring of Life was worth 10,000 Cosmos crystals. The 5th level of the treasury was only open because the highest price of the treasures on the 4th level was 9,000 Cosmos crystals. To buy a bottle of Universal Spring of Life, I need to open the 7th level of the treasury. Lin Feng calculated. This wasn't very difficult, as long as he didn't cultivate in seclusion during the survival challenge, and instead used battle to nurture battle. It was only a matter of time before he collected the virtual purple core and opened the 7th level of the treasury. The difficult part was buying 10 pots of Cosmos Spring Water of Life, which required a total of 10 million Cosmos crystals. Elementary Spirit Undulation Instrument, 1,800 Cosmos crystals. Middle Grade Spirit Undulator, 18,000 Cosmos crystals. In the miscellaneous treasury, Lin Feng quickly found this compass instrument that could detect planetary energy fluctuations. It was a little more expensive than he had expected. The one in his hand was an elementary spirituality ripple meter, which was equivalent to a mid-grade heavenly Tao cardinal treasure. He continued browsing. Lin Feng searched slowly. There was plenty of time. Here was the same as when he entered the 5th level of the emptiness realm. The time ratio was 1:100. Even if he didn't buy it, he had to familiarize himself with the various treasures. When the time came for him to battle with other mid-grade participants, he would know its effects. That day, he didn't know the effects of the spirituality ripple meter. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Time virtual company, top-grade intelligent cabin. In the 5th level of the emptiness realm's control room, the solemn-looking square-faced male, Chung Weigua, walked in with large strides. He was a peak Godmaster-level life form and emitted a tyrannical and powerful aura. "Quan!" Chung Weigua immediately shouted. "What's wrong, boss?" The white-haired youth, Quan, raised his head from the massage chair. He had a green foxtail in his mouth, and his eyes were drowsy. He looked bored to death. Chung Weigua snorted coldly. His left hand flashed, and the scene in the independent space appeared. It was Quan recruiting Lin Feng. "Oh." Quan didn't seem surprised at all. "What's wrong, boss?" Chung Weigua immediately closed the virtual scene and said in a deep voice, "You should know that the recruitment quota for each era is very precious. Isn't it a bit too much to break the rules for a contestant who hasn't reached this set standard?" Quan raised his drowsy eyes. "I don't think so, boss." "Oh." Chung Weigua looked at Quan. Quan said, "This kid has great potential and is worth 10 quota points. Is that so? Even more than Li Kongxiu and Fei Qing?" Chung Weigua narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Quan hesitated for a moment and nodded. "Yes." "Ridiculous." Chung Weigua glared and shouted, "This kid is eccentric and doesn't follow the right path. He cultivates the Tao of light and darkness, which is an unorthodox path. His attainments in the Tao of space and time are weak. Moreover, his bloodline isn't righteous. It's extremely difficult to activate it. The further he cultivates, the harder it will be. Is he worth wasting our precious quota on? Next time, before you recruit people, please read the information carefully." After a series of curses, Chung Weigua angrily snorted and glared at Quan. Then, he turned around and left. He both loved and hated this subordinate of his. Quan acted based on intuition and didn't follow the rules at all. Sometimes, he would even break the rules of the virtual company. However, among the 10 groups, Quan's performance was the best. Chung Weigua wasn't stubborn. As the person in charge of the virtual realm of the 5th era, he knew what it meant to treat everyone equally. He wouldn't directly reject Lin Feng just because he didn't like him. Instead, he spent a lot of time to analyze and judge a large amount of information and finally came to a conclusion. His previous first impression and conjecture weren't wrong. This kid wouldn't be able to achieve great things. The difference was that the first time, he judged based on intuition and experience. But this time, he relied on a large amount of information and theories to deduce. His reasoning was stronger and more straightforward. Fortunately, Lin Feng rejected Quan's recruitment. Otherwise, the virtual realm of the 5th era would have made a big mistake. As the person in charge, he couldn't escape the blame. Leader. The members of the first group came forward and comforted their leader Quan. Being reprimanded in front of so many people, they more or less lost face. Everyone was a group, so they should advance and retreat together, regardless of whether they believed in their leader, Quan's judgment, or not. "I'm fine." Quan shrugged and revealed his signature smile. His gaze fell on the members of his group. Quan blinked his eyes and said, "Do you guys also think that our leader is right?" The members of his group were speechless for a moment. They didn't know what to say. Quan shook his head and said, "Time will prove everything. I dare say that our leader's judgment is definitely wrong this time." His gaze fell on the screen. Quan's expression slowly turned serious. "This Lin Feng, I think that he is not only stronger than Li Kongxiu and Fei Qing, he is even comparable to those special newcomers. Chapter 2355. What should he buy with the remaining 24,660 cosmos crystals? Lin Feng browsed for dozens of years and memorized all the contents of the treasure trove. Finally, he made a decision. He exchanged the beginner's spirit oscillation meter for 1,440 cosmos crystals. Then, he bought a death doll that was worth 25,000 cosmos crystals. As for the remaining 1,100 cosmos crystals, he exchanged them for some treasures that could recover soul energy, detoxification pills, 9-turn 2-awe spirit, and other treasures that could be used for battle recovery. 1,100 cosmos crystals wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. It was enough to buy a middle-grade Heavenly Law true treasure and more than enough to buy recovery items. He spent all of it. Lin Feng didn't lack ordinary middle-grade Heavenly Law true treasures. He didn't sell all of them, but kept a few. What he really needed was a treasure that could determine the outcome of a battle, a treasure that could save his life in the fifth-time emptiness realm. According to Chu Yuzi, the high-grade standard title was a threshold, a ladder that led to a higher level of pursuit. During the high-grade standard title, he would face many life-and-death battles. Under such circumstances, the death doll could give him an extra life. It was the best choice. 25,000 cosmos crystals for a life. It was worth it. First, he had to stay alive. Then, he would think about other things. Because this was a challenge for survival. Lin Feng swiped his hand and pressed a virtual button. The treasure trove and rewards on the screen disappeared and were replaced by strict rules and regulations. The mission conditions of the high-grade standard title appeared clearly. Fifth-time emptiness realm. Time flow rate 100. High-grade standard mission. Survive for 100,000 years and accumulate at least one virtual green core. Obtain all the mission items in the 7 ordinary secret realms and kill any secret realm lord. A huge map projection flashed on Lin Feng's right arm. The 7 ordinary secret realms were like 7 bright stars that covered the entire fifth-time emptiness realm. The time limit of 100,000 years is up. Mission requirements that haven't been completed will be considered a failure. Every time you kill a top-grade emptiness realm beast, you will reduce the mission requirement by 100 years. Killing a secret realm guard will reduce the mission requirement by 1,000 years. Killing a secret realm lord will reduce the mission requirement by 10,000 years. Enter the Yen Huang Great World and find the Heavenly Dao Cliffs Virtual Heavenly Dao Palace. Mission completed. Your current personal temporary account balance is 1 Cosmos Crystal. Every 1 Cosmos Crystal can be exchanged for a mission requirement of 1 year. Every virtual orange core can be exchanged for a mission with a requirement of 100 years. Virtual yellow cores can be exchanged for a mission with a requirement of 1,000 years. Virtual green cores can be exchanged for a mission with a requirement of 10,000 years. The highest possible mission time can be exchanged for is 50,000 years. He carefully browsed through it several times and memorized all of it. It was similar to what he had expected, and the difficulty was not too high. For the current him, if he could just complete it, he was actually very confident. In fact, most of the participants would choose the safest way to complete the test. After all, a high-grade standard title was an outstanding piece of gold-plated stone. Among them, 27% of the high-level participants would be absorbed by the 2 great leaders. As for the remaining participants, they were all highly sought after outside. Even if they wanted to join the 5 great leaders, they would have to wait until they reached the upper heavenly deity level before they could do so. However, he didn't just want to complete it. Luminous Sky Secret Realm, for great experts. Lin Feng was brimming with fighting spirit. Only with a goal could one improve. Currently, not only did he need to increase his strength quickly, he also needed a large amount of cosmos crystals. Without a doubt, these 4 great experts were like walking bags of money, and they had a huge amount of treasures on them. Their fame was forged through countless battles and massacres. The treasures they had accumulated from participating in the survival challenges were considerable. Especially Li Kongxiu and the strongest nightmare devil puppet, they walked the path of using battle to nurture battle, crazily increasing their strength. Bai Yuzi had once said that he should avoid the nightmare devil puppet and wait for him to complete the high-grade standard before going out to fight. However, even if he couldn't meet them before obtaining a high-grade title, did it mean that he couldn't meet them after obtaining a high-grade title? After that, he would still meet them when he reached the top-grade standard of survival challenges. Furthermore, there were some things and some experts, the more one wanted to avoid, the more one couldn't avoid them. On the other hand, it was sufficient to clear his mind, eliminate all distracting thoughts, and concentrate on moving forward together. With a time ratio of 100, the high-grade standard title is only 1,000 years in the outside world. If I can't even become one of the strongest of the mid-grade experts in this 1,000 years, how can I challenge the perfect standard title in the future? Lin Feng had very high expectations for himself. The perfect standard title was equivalent to 100,000 years in the outside world. How many experts had accumulated within it? With 1,000 years as the strongest of the high-grade experts, there were a total of 100 of them. Become the strongest and challenge all the way. Walking the path of battle is extremely dangerous, but it is the most effective and direct way. Let's start with Li Kongxiu. Lin Feng was very clear about this. When he reached the high-grade standard, the first difficulty he had to solve was Li Kongxiu, one of the 4 great experts of the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Li Kongxiu had failed to kill him before, and it was very likely that he was still waiting for him in the same place. Because if he continued to participate in the survival challenges, the next place he would appear would be the place where he disappeared last time. Of course, if he chose to complete it, there wouldn't be a next time. Take it slow. Let him wait for 10,000 years first. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to enter. Previously, when he completed the mid-grade standard title, he stayed in the independent space for 995 years. Based on the time ratio, he should be able to stay for nearly 10,000 years this time, because the time limit for the high-grade standard title was 100,000 years. How could he not make use of the 10,000 years of independent cultivation time? 7th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow. Lin Feng began to cultivate. The 7th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow was the highest level of the original Kuan Ling Heart Arrow. It could increase soul power by 70%, not because the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow was weak, but because of the structure of their soul. 70% soul power was the highest soul power the Kuan Ling race could mobilize. Once it was exceeded, they would fall into a coma, not to mention attack. But the structure of the human soul was different. Human experts could mobilize up to 90% of their soul power, and those with strong wills would not necessarily fall into a coma, even if they only had 5% or 3% of their soul power left. Therefore, Venerable Feng modified the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow and changed its limit from 7 levels to 9 levels. But as the original limit of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow, the difficulty of cultivating it was still quite high. According to the secret technique, mobilizing 70% of one's soul power required a strong soul controllability. Because when the soul power was transformed into an attack, the soul power in the body would be reduced by 70%, making it even harder to control. The difficulty of the 8th and 9th levels would get higher and higher. Not only would it require a strong soul controllability, but it also required a steel-like will. The power and difficulty of cultivation were directly proportional. 10,000 years is enough for me to complete the 7th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow. Lin Feng had absolute confidence. Chapter 2356. In a primitive forest, a 2-meter-tall dwarf wearing a mask was sitting on top of a huge tree. The 2 daggers in his hands were sharp and cold, as if they could steal souls. It was the phantom assassin, Li Kongxiu. He was originally an assassin, and his assassination skills were extremely outstanding. Only a few people could survive in his hands. The slip-up just now was extremely rare in his assassin career. Although the enemy had taken advantage of the rules, part of the reason was that he had not expected the soul attack, which had caused him to be injured. To the arrogant Li Kongxiu, it had left a deep mark. He chose to wait. As an assassin, he naturally had a lot of patience. He did not plan to give up just like that. Moreover, Li Kongqiu clearly understood the rules of the Advanced Standard Survival Challenge. As long as that human youth continued to participate in the survival challenge, he would definitely appear here. Even if the hope was not great, Li Kongqiu would still wait. Human, I will wait for you for 10,000 years. A thick killing intent appeared in Li Kongqiu's eyes. He combined his soul defense with the heavenly law treasure while recovering his damaged soul power. Next time, he would not be at a disadvantage. In an independent space, Lin Feng was cultivating without any distractions. The 7th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow was a hurdle that he had to overcome. The 7th level's power was enough to kill an ordinary lower divine lord. With the strength of his soul, his power had increased greatly. At the 6th level, he could kill an ordinary lower divine lord. At the 7th level, he could kill an outstanding lower divine lord who was comparable to a middle divine lord. Even if he could not kill his opponent, he could still heavily injure his opponent's soul. This was very important in a one-on-one battle, because the damage to the soul needed a long time to recover. Even if it was eaten with the fruit of heaven and earth, it would still take a long time. This was a crucial killing move for him. He naturally had to do his best to comprehend it. His priority was at the very top. Swish! A beam of light shot out from Lin Feng's eyes. His soul power was extremely condensed and pure. 7 soul arrows shot out along with that beam of light. It was as if a thread was controlling and condensing them. In an instant, the 7 arrows combined into one, and their power increased greatly. The power of a simple soul arrow was only SOSO. But 7 soul arrows combined together with a special secret method was not as simple as the power of 7 soul arrows. The power was not added, but multiplied. Chi, the frightening might of the attack, had even caused the surrounding space to tremble. However, this was merely the vibration of spiritual force. Done. Over the past 6,000 years, he had experimented countless times and finally succeeded. The soul arrow drew a perfect arc and returned to Lin Feng's sea of consciousness without any damage. This was the unique characteristic of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow. It could be fired and retracted at will without any loss. I'll try a few more times to consolidate my perfection. Lin Feng was not complacent and continued to cultivate. In fact, he had already spent more time than he had expected. However, there was nothing he could do about it. The 7th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow was too difficult to master, especially when the 7 arrows were combined into one. He felt as if he had lost control of his remaining soul force. Because he only had 30% of his soul power left, it was very difficult to control 70% of his soul power. This was different from Cho Akong's 40% soul power and Cho Akong's 60% soul power. The difference was huge. At the 8th level, he could use 20% of his soul power to control 80% of his soul power, which was even more terrifying. The difficulty would increase by at least 10 times. After spending another 10 years, Lin Feng finally mastered it perfectly. Then, he continued to learn how to control new treasures. The top-notch mid-level Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasure, the Spatial Weapon Calamity, was especially important. Not only did it perfectly replace the Black Lotus, but it also had a higher limit. Focus on one thing. My battle strength is too messy most of the time. I can't control the Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasures to their limits, which makes me at a disadvantage in battle. In the Bright Sky Secret Realm, he had fought with all kinds of mid-level experts many times. Each of them usually had a treasure that they were good at. They could unleash the power of one or several Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasures to their limits. This was crucial because once a Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasure was perfectly mastered, the power it could unleash was usually 120%, 130%, or even 150% of its limits. Just like his Battle Saber Black Lotus, Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasures contain the Heavenly Law. They could be expanded to a higher limit. A low-level Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasure will be more powerful than a mid-level Heavenly Law Cardinal Treasure. Lin Feng nodded. Of course, the level of the treasure was still important. For example, the Black Lotus was too different from the Calamity. This wasn't a gap that could be matched by mastering it to its limits. In just a few hundred years, the power of the Calamity surpassed that of the Black Lotus. After 1,700 years, the first level of secret engravings of the Calamity was opened, and the gap was even bigger. After that, it was the control of two special type treasures, Phantom Countercurrent Ion Death Doll. These two high-level Heavenly Law cardinal treasures that he had spent a huge amount of cosmos crystals to purchase were his two trump cards. They could help him keep his life in the bright sky secret realm, where there were so many experts. Another reason why he chose special type treasures was that he didn't need to spend too much time to master them. For example, the Death Doll was easy to master and could be used perfectly in just a few decades. The control of the Phantom Countercurrent took more time. After all, he had more time to carve the engravings. However, compared to high-level Heavenly Law cardinal treasures of the same type, the difference in time was like heaven and earth. Right now, what he lacked the most was time. He had to race against time to cultivate, improve, comprehend, and practice his saber. Lin Feng's time was filled to the brim. He even turned a deaf ear to the top-level artificial intelligence's reminder before the last 50 years. 50 years, wasn't it still time? Lin Feng didn't have any wishful thinking. To him, the first thing he would do when he returned to the Bright Sky secret realm was to face a fierce battle against the terrifying phantom killer, Li Kongqiu. He had been training crazily for this goal. Although he still wasn't confident, compared to when he had just passed the intermediate standard title, he had completely transformed. His abilities had improved significantly in all aspects. If he's still waiting for me at the same place, he'll probably be surprised. Lin Feng smiled. Back then, he had almost no ability to resist in front of him. Now he had the ability to fight against him. His 10,000 years of hard work weren't in vain. Moreover, he really hoped to fight against the top-level experts of the Bright Sky secret realm again. Last year countdown. Participant, please enter the 5th time emptiness realm immediately. Otherwise, you'll be eliminated. You'll be disqualified forever. The top-level artificial intelligence's cold voice sounded. Lin Feng stretched his muscles and showed a smile. What would come, but now he had already prepared himself. Swoosh! After pressing the button, Lin Feng's figure disappeared. Chapter 23:57. In the primitive forest, Li Kongqiu was sitting cross-legged in a huge tree. As a top assassin, his ability to control his aura was even better than Lin Feng's. This was the result of years of practice. It was also a necessary skill for an assassin. Shua! Opening his eyes, Li Kongqiu's hands flashed with light. Two daggers with sharp hooks appeared clearly. A murderous aura spread out. After 10,000 years, he finally came. Li Kongqiu had calculated clearly. He was also very persistent in waiting. In order to wait for Lin Feng, he had wasted 10,000 years, which was equivalent to 1/10 of the time in the Advanced Standard Survival Challenge. However, this was his belief as an assassin. He would never allow his prey to run away. As long as there was a slight chance, he would try his best to kill him. As expected, he is still greedy. Li Kongqiu was not surprised at all. A human warrior who could have such an ability in the Intermediate Standard Survival Challenge was definitely not ordinary. His strength and wisdom were all dragons and phoenixes among men. His opponent would definitely be afraid of him. Even if he wanted to continue the survival challenge, he would have to rest in the independent space for 10,000 years. When he might leave, he would come back. After all, not everyone had the patience to wait for 10,000 years. However, you underestimate me too much. Li Kongqiu's eyes were like torches. His fighting spirit had already reached its peak. In order to assassinate his target, not to mention 10,000 years, even if he had to wait 100,000 years or even 1,000,000 years, he would not care. As an assassin, he naturally had such awareness and ability. He would do anything to achieve his goal. The space rippled. He was already very familiar with this Li Kongqiu. If he teleported, this would be the best time to kill his opponent. However, in the survival challenge, he would not be able to do that. When he returned from the independent space, there would be a mysterious power protecting him until his consciousness returned. Underestimating him? From the beginning, Lin Feng had never underestimated Li Kongxiu. Such a well-matched opponent was worthy of respect. The moment his consciousness returned, Lin Feng had already sensed Li Kongxiu's existence. He was indeed worthy of the title Phantom Assassin. Clang! Lin Feng unsheathed his saber. His fighting spirit was boiling. He had been waiting for him for 10,000 years. But for this battle, he had also fought for a full 10,000 years. Compared to the first time he had fought, his current strength was completely different. Although he still didn't have any confidence, he was much stronger than before. He was no longer the beginner who had allowed Li Kongxiu to beat him. Lin Feng's black vortex was activated. The turbulent space energy gathered and formed a unique power. The attack was accompanied by the secret space technique of capturing. It made the saber's momentum more decisive and powerful, and its power increased sharply. Whoosh! Whoosh! With a ghostly body movement, Li Kongxiu's short and small figure had already descended from the sky like a bolt of lightning. Milky Way Saber Technique. The second sky of the light and darkness realm condensed the power of the bloodline. The resistance of the battle blade was stronger, and the fusion level was higher. The attack power was more terrifying. Like a Milky Way light streaking across, the space was compressed, and Li Kongxiu's figure appeared. Kill! 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 Li Kongxiu quickly moved in a small area. The two daggers, one for defense and one for offense, were originally offensive weapons, but they were also good for defense. Together with Li Kongxiu's perfect body movement, Lin Feng's saber art was powerful, but it couldn't be compared to Li Kongxiu's ghostly body movement. Li Kongxiu's control of space, together with his body movement, was simply heaven-defying. Powerful. Lin Feng quickly defended against Li Kongxiu's defense. He had rarely met an opponent who could crush him in speed. This was the first time he had seen Li Kongxiu's real strength. He was indeed worthy of the title of Phantom Killer. Every time he dodged, he would leave behind a series of illusions, which would cause a lot of trouble for his attacks. Li Kongxiu's counterattacks were sharp and effective. However, although the attacks were effective, they weren't fatal. You want me to use my treasure domain? Lin Feng quickly saw through Li Kongxiu's intention. Li Kongxiu's ghostly body movement made him unable to catch or touch. His attacks were dodged again and again. A normal warrior's first reaction would be to use his treasure domain to restrict his body movement. However, once Li Kongxiu used his treasure domain, there would be flaws in it, which would be very troublesome. With Li Kongxiu's ability, it would be easy for him to catch those flaws. With his understanding of space, he doesn't need to be afraid of ordinary treasure domains. Lin Feng didn't take the risk. Instead, he chose to fight steadily to further understand Li Kongxiu's strength. After fighting with him, he knew that Li Kongxiu's reputation as one of the 4 great warriors of the Bright Sky Secret Territory wasn't undeserved. Magic Arm, 5th Gear. Lin Feng took the initiative to use his full strength. Facing Li Kongxiu, who was known for his agility, defense wasn't advisable. Moreover, his strength was offense. He would attack Li Kongxiu wave after wave of attacks. Let's see whose attack is stronger. His left hand was covered by a thick layer of demon energy. His 5 fingers moved, and the power of the demon python covered his whole body. Lin Feng's eyes emitted a thick murderous aura. However, the 10,000 origin mustard stone stayed true to his heart, displaying the power of the dark demon heavenly way to the fullest. His speed and power instantly increased. Even his blade technique became abnormally terrifying, full of murderous aura. Oh! Li Kongxiu, who had been probing Lin Feng, had his eyes burning. In his previous battles, he had already killed his opponents cleanly, but against this human youth in front of him, Li Kongxiu still had a trick up his sleeve. The reason why Lin Feng had escaped that day wasn't entirely because Lin Feng had reasonably used the rules. The most fundamental reason was that soul attack. If it weren't for the sudden interference of the soul attack, Li Kongxiu wouldn't have given Lin Feng a chance to kill the lord of the secret territory. That tyrannical soul attack was still fresh in Li Kongxiu's memory. For this reason, he had specially refined a soul defense-type heavenly way treasure to protect his soul. However, it was only a basic heavenly way treasure because soul defense-type heavenly way treasures were too rare. As long as a warrior refined it, it would be very difficult to leave a complete remnant. This was because the soul defense-type heavenly way treasure was connected to the soul. Once the controller died, the soul would lose its vitality, and the soul defense-type heavenly way treasure would also shatter. A rising star of the human race, Li Kongxiu's mouth twitched disdainfully, and his eyes became even colder. Like Fei Qing, he uses a blade. Kill. The more he saw Lin Feng's potential, the angrier Li Kongxiu became. For a long time, he had been defeated by Fei Qing, which made him extremely jealous. Now that he saw Lin Feng, who had just reached the intermediate grade title, had such strength, and had improved so much in just 10,000 years, his killing intent was overflowing. What he hated the most was the human race. Originally, he had wanted to kill this human youth with the smallest price, but now, he didn't care about anything else, even if his soul was injured again. The jealous flame dominator Li Kongxiu's chest burned fiercely, and the space pattern on his forehead lit up. Space bloodline erupt. Chapter 2358. The members of the Zhuejian race were extremely ugly. They were short and small, and were only 1.2 meters tall when they reached adulthood. However, they were proficient in the Tao of space, and were born killers and assassins. Li Kongxiu was one of the rising stars of the Zhuejian race. After the bloodline of the Zhuejian race was fully activated, Li Kongxiu's speed and reaction speed were greatly improved, and his control of space was pushed to the limit. The most frightening thing was that the bloodline of the Zhuejian race didn't have any side effects. However, the bloodline of the Zhuejian race needed to be recovered, and it wasn't good for the following battles in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Therefore, Li Kongxiu had been conserving his strength. However, because of his jealousy and hatred for Lin Feng, Li Kongxiu didn't hide his killing moves anymore, and chose to attack directly. Even though he knew that his opponent had a soul attack, he didn't care. In the last battle, Li Kongxiu took the attack head-on. This time, he had the protection of the elementary heavenly law treasure and experience. Even if he couldn't take the full attack, he could at least control it. He wanted to kill this human youth in front of him with the fastest speed and efficiency. However, Li Kongxiu was wrong. This human youth in front of him was more powerful than he had imagined. He was a hard bone to chew, and his close combat ability was quite strong. A mid-heavenly god human has such strength and speed. After the bloodline was activated, Li Kongxiu's face was somewhat ugly. His opponent's life level was far lower than his, but at this moment, he stubbornly defended against wave after wave of attacks. Although he was faster, and his killing moves were fierce, he didn't dare to take his opponent's counterattack head-on. A human with such a physique. Bang! Li Kongxiu's mouth let out an unpleasant sound like a cheetah's roar. His jealousy and hatred made his battle strength soar crazily. His two barbed daggers slashed Lin Feng's body again, and blood dripped from his wounds. However, Lin Feng didn't give Li Kongxiu any real chance to attack, even though he was constantly injured by the Milky Way Blade Art's protection. It seemed that the injuries were not light, but they were mostly superficial wounds and the wear and tear of the armor. The dazzling light armor had been destroyed long ago. Lin Feng was now wearing a mid-level Heavenly Way treasure battlesuit, the Black Heart battlesuit. Inside, he was still wearing a space-type Heavenly Way treasure battlesuit, the Yukong inner armor. With 2 layers of defense and powerful counterattacks, Lin Feng was having a hard time. Although he was at a disadvantage, Lin Feng did not panic. Cunning human. Li Kongxiu's eyes were filled with anger. This human did not defend against normal attacks. No matter how he dodged or evaded or even revealed a weakness, this human did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he waited for his attack to arrive and only counterattacked when he was injured. Unless he was willing to take the risk of being seriously injured, it would be very difficult to severely injure this human youth. Most importantly, his opponent had yet to use his soul attack. This made Li Kongxiu feel a deep fear in his heart. To see who can last longer? Li Kongxiu gnashed his teeth. He knew clearly that his bloodline talent would disappear first, or his opponent's defensive heavenly Dao treasure would collapse first. You underestimate me too much. Li Kongxiu squinted his eyes and shot out a beam of light. In a split second, layers of phantoms were superimposed on each other. His body shook to the limit in a short period of time. 10 phantoms appeared and attacked Lin Feng from all directions. Space overlapping. Li Kongxiu did not hesitate to use a large amount of space energy to perform his killing move. He did not want to drag this out any longer, nor did he want to waste any more time. He had to finish off his opponent quickly. Instead of being afraid of his opponent's soul attack, it was better to completely ignore it. Li Kongxiu had also thought it through. The fear in his heart made it difficult for him to use his full strength, so it was better to just ignore it. After all, the soul attack could not kill him. Li Kongxiu had absolute confidence in his own attacks and killing moves. He was sure that his opponent would not be able to resist this move. Although it consumed a large amount of space energy, it was worth it. The cold light of the dagger and the illusions overlapped and intertwined, as if they were weaving a dense net in the sky, blocking all of Lin Feng's escape routes. Because of the space overlapping, the space around Lin Feng fell into an extremely passive state. It was wrinkled again and again, and it was difficult for him to escape. With the appearance of this move, unless Lin Feng's space mastery was better than Li Kongxiu's, there was only one way. The only way was to forcefully escape. Good. Lin Feng was not afraid, but laughed instead. He did not even think of dodging. It was rare that Li Kongxiu was willing to use all of his strength to attack, so it could not be better. The Bermuda Triangle appeared in his hand. The black whirlpool spun rapidly, and a spiral space triangle appeared. It split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. This time, it did not spiral, but continued to divide, forming a huge triangle formed by hundreds of space triangles in the sky. Each of the triangles formed a resonance with each other, and space energy overflowed everywhere. The ultimate ability of the Bermuda Triangle, Triangle Destruction, the 7th-level space secret technique combined with the divine power of a mid-level heavenly law treasure was fully displayed. Although Lin Feng had not completely mastered it, he was already able to display the power of the ultimate ability of the Bermuda Triangle. The lack of quality of the attack was made up by the endless space energy of the black whirlpool. This time, Lin Feng's strength had increased, including the control of the treasure and the comprehension of the secret technique. A huge triangle against a dense grid. Boom! The sky fell and the earth cracked. The surrounding space was shattered and turned into turbulence. Although Li Kongxiu did not care about it all, as he was the favored child of space, he could adapt to the turbulence of space and even use it. However, his complacent attack was broken by the opponent, which made Li Kongxiu greatly shocked. Suddenly, when he was pushed back, pong! An incomparably terrifying soul energy penetrated the turbulence of space. It was so terrifying that it was impossible to guard against it. Although Li Kongxiu had been waiting for this wave of soul attack, he had never thought that it would appear at this time. The soul defense type heavenly law treasure was almost torn to pieces in an instant. It only used less than 10% of the soul attack power. Rip! The terrifying pain spread from the bottom of his heart to his whole body. Li Kongxiu's face was extremely pale, and he let out a hysterical cry like a ghost. It was extreme pain. No! Li Kongxiu was scared out of his wits. The soul attack power of the opponent this time was more than 10 times stronger than the previous one. His consciousness seemed to be torn apart. It was so terrifying. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure appeared in the sky above Li Kongxiu. The first layer of engravings on the battle blade Calamity were shining. Lin Feng's pale face was full of killing intent, which gave the battle blade Calamity the ultimate divine power. Chi! The blade fell, and blood spurted out. Li Kongxiu was mercilessly killed. Li Kongxiu was dead. Chapter 23:59. Shua! Shua! Lin Feng quickly collected all of Li Kongxiu's treasures. 8 virtual blue cores. They were estimated to be around 300,000 cosmos crystals. Lin Feng had a great harvest from the first battle of the Advanced Standard Survival Challenge. Although he only killed Li Kongxiu, his harvest was comparable to killing dozens or even hundreds of intermediate title contestants. Li Kongxiu was one of the 4 great experts of the Bright Sky Secret Territory. The number of intermediate title contestants that died in his hands was much more than Lin Feng's. He had even killed an advanced title contestant before, but this time he was pecked blind by a wild goose. He was too arrogant. Lin Feng looked at Li Kongxiu's corpse and sighed. Even if he had a death doll on him, he could have saved his life. But Li Kongxiu didn't. Maybe he had other life-saving treasures, but he couldn't use them in time when the soul attack was launched. But this battle was also due to luck. They were evenly matched. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to kill Li Kongxiu. Because they were evenly matched, they fought to the death. If his soul attack was blocked, and he only had 30% of his soul power left, his battle power would be greatly reduced. At that time, he would be in big trouble. Does this count as returning after dispersing 1,000 gold? Lin Feng put away all of Li Kongxiu's treasures. He was in a good mood. Before the battle, he didn't have any confidence, but he was quite satisfied with the result. It's not that Li Kongxiu became weaker, but that I became stronger. Lin Feng now had a general understanding of his own strength. Since he was comparable to Li Kongxiu, then there weren't many people in the Bright Sky Secret Territory who could pose a threat to him. The strongest of the 4 great experts, the Nightmare Puppet. Other than that, there are also groups of intermediate standard participants. Next target, the Nightmare Puppet. Lin Feng quickly recovered from his injuries. He didn't plan to leave the Bright Sky Secret Territory for the time being. He didn't need to worry about the mission items in the 7 ordinary secret territories. His real goal was to defeat the strongest contestants in the 7 ordinary secret territories. Only then could he prove that he was the undisputed number 1 among the intermediate standard contestants. Time Virtual Company, top-level intelligent cabin. On the 5th time, a wave of exclamations and gasps rang out in the control room of the virtual boundary. It rose and fell one after another, leaving one speechless. Boss, it's the 3rd group. Ha! Li Kongxiu was the newcomer with great potential that they were in charge of. Now that he has been killed, it's only natural that they are mourning for him. This is what they get for mocking our group for being dim-sighted and recruiting Lin Feng. This slap in the face is really resounding. Awesome, so satisfying. The members of Group 1 were overjoyed. Looking at the familiar figure on the screen, they laughed and cursed. Team leader He Quan still had his legs crossed as he lazily reclined on the massage chair. However, there was a smile on his face and a faint sense of confidence. The dust had settled. There would be no more gossip, and no one would question his judgment. Lin Feng, the newbie with great potential, had just killed Li Kongxiu, who was ranked 17th among the participants with the title of Intermediate Void Realm. As a result, Li Kongxiu's ranking had risen from 155th place to 25th place, an increase of 130 places. Although the ranking didn't represent one's combat power, it directly reflected one's recruitment priority. Those who were ranked in the top 30 had a 100% chance of being recruited in advance and becoming a level 1 newbie. Boss, you have nothing to say this time, right? He Quan mocked himself. 7th Mercenary Alliance, 5th time Virtual Boundary Monitoring Room. Densely packed heads and densely packed machines. This place was somewhat similar to the Time Virtual Company's top-level intelligent cabin. However, there were more members in the 7th Mercenary Alliance, and the division of supervision was more clear. They didn't work in groups, but in a single-person system. 5 experienced inspectors would examine the information of each beginner-level participant and assign them to the inspectors according to their priority. After a complete monitoring and systematic grading, the 2 judges would decide whether or not to recruit them. Only when the 2 judges agreed could they recruit them. I said before that this Lin Feng could be recruited in advance. Oldly, you didn't believe me. The big-headed chief, Judge Wang, shouted. I was wrong, okay? I didn't expect that Li Kongxiu, who was scheduled to be recruited by the Time Virtual Company, would be killed by this little guy. The skinny chief, Judge Li, whose face was full of wrinkles, rubbed his nose and said, in fact, during the intermediate level survival challenge, the two judges had different opinions. Chief Judge Wong thought that they could recruit him in advance, but Chief Judge Lee didn't think so. According to the rules of the 7th Mercenary Alliance, a single rejection meant a total rejection. Therefore, they didn't go to recruit Lin Feng. But then again, I didn't expect this little guy to be so powerful. Chief Judge Wong shook his head and stared at the screen. Although he was a little lucky in the end, it's rare for a human expert to cultivate such a strong physical body and soul attack. Not only that, this little guy's life rating is only at the intermediate divine realm. He's full of talent. Chief Judge Lee smiled and squinted his eyes. The more he looked at him, the more he liked him. Chief Judge Wong rolled his eyes. Then why did you deny it so firmly before? Such an outstanding talent was almost recruited by the time virtual company. Chief Judge Lee touched his nose. Even saints make mistakes sometimes, let alone a mortal like me. Actually, isn't it better now? According to the regulations, the time virtual company has already recruited him once. If Lin Feng completes the advanced level survival challenge, we will recruit him. The time virtual company can't participate. Chief Judge Wong snorted. This little guy's ambition is higher than the sky. The time virtual company can't recruit him, and our benefits are not as good as his. Are you sure he will come? Chief Judge Lee shrugged. I don't know. Let's try our luck. The time virtual company and the 7th Mercenary Alliance were two giants. One focused on quality, while the other focused on quantity. Of course, this was relative to the level of the 5 giants. Although the 7th Mercenary Alliance focused on quantity, the potential recruits they recruited were naturally much better than those first-class forces. This was related to the strength and philosophy of the force. The time virtual company had mastered virtual technology and was astonishingly wealthy. They would naturally focus on nurturing potential recruits with better and better resources. Each level was better than the previous one, and they adopted the super elite system. The 7th Mercenary Alliance had a wide range of forces. As mercenaries, they believed in actual combat ability and the survival of the fittest. They believed in the law of the jungle. They used battles to improve themselves instead of relying on the accumulation of resources to nurture them. They believed that experts who grew through battles were far better than flowers in a greenhouse. Each had their own strengths, and each had their own world. There was no difference in strength between the 5 giants. Each of them was a transcendent existence in the Xing Feng astral realm. Chapter 2360. Using battle to nurture battle. Lin Feng didn't plan to stop cultivating in seclusion because there was nothing worth cultivating at the moment. His saber techniques, treasures, and secret techniques were all at a bottleneck. As for the third sky of light and darkness and the improvement of his bloodline, it was even more uncertain. Fighting was the fastest way to improve one's strength. After killing Li Kongxiu, Lin Feng was full of confidence. Now, he not only had the ability to establish himself in the bright sky secret territory, but also to occupy a high position. Smoke rose from all directions as Lin Feng began his killing spree. He didn't really care about the advanced standard title mission. When you have enough strength to dominate an ordinary secret realm, what's the point of a mere advanced standard survival challenge mission? Cheat. Boom. Coupled with the war saber calamity, Lin Feng's saber technique was even more decisive and fierce. He quickly killed a demon expert whose face was full of fear and was about to escape. He took the storage ring and put it into his bag without even looking at it. Ancestors' light and darkness secret technique, 3 calamities of death. I have reached the great accomplishment of the 2nd calamity, and the 4th move of the Milky Way saber technique is gradually showing its embryonic form. Just wait for perfection, and I can really complete the 4th move of the Milky Way saber technique. Lin Feng's saber light flashed, and his eyes shone. Fighting again and again, he honed his saber techniques and the 3 calamities of death, and learned from them. The 2nd calamity was like that, from the small accomplishment to the great accomplishment, and from the great accomplishment to perfection, he needed countless battles to sharpen himself. The Milky Way saber technique was based on his light and darkness 9 heavens, supplemented by his ancestors' light and darkness secret technique. Currently, he did not have a strong enough bladesmanship realm to be able to create invincible moves just by relying on the heavenly way of the blade. However, by relying on the power of the secret method and the tyrannical power of the 9 heavens of light and darkness, he could also create extremely strong bladesmanship with the help of the secret method. This was a process. The creation of a saber technique couldn't be done overnight. Everything had a long process, countless experiments, and countless failures before it could really grow and improve. Continue. Galloping in the bright sky secret territory, Lin Feng entered the Tao through fighting and cultivated himself. Bright sky secret territory, well-death vein. The high mountains and the deep valleys formed a strange environment that looked like a well. On the snow-capped mountain, 5 experts of the demon clan who all had virtual blue cores on their left hands were gathered. I heard that the fiend is nearby. I also heard that the 4-eyed demonic fox was attacked by him earlier. Fortunately, it managed to escape quickly. Otherwise, it would have become a ghost under his blade. He only became famous in the last 10,000 years. He should be a new participant of the intermediate level. It is rumored that Li Kongxiu died under his blade. I don't know if it is true. Impossible with Li Kongxiu's strength. How could he lose to a newcomer? That person must have finished the Advanced Standard Survival Challenge early, so he left. As I see it, this Tribulation Saber King is about to meet his own tribulation. As the saying goes, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. If he keeps such a high profile, he will be destroyed sooner or later. Lin Feng was an unfamiliar face. Even the experts who had fought with him before didn't recognize him. He was different from Li Kongxiu. Li Kongxiu's reputation had already spread like thunder when he participated in the Time Void Boundary Survival Challenge. Lin Feng, on the other hand, was just a nobody. Therefore, the experts who had fought with him only recognized his blade, tribulation, but didn't recognize him. The experts of the Bright Sky Secret Realm were not easy to kill, especially those with strong life-saving abilities. They could run away very quickly, and some of them would even run away as soon as they heard the news. Don't worry, there are many of us. With the 5 of us together, who dares to touch us? Haha, boss is right. Isn't that white-winged angel In Shi, or one of the 4 great experts? She ran away as soon as she saw us. It's okay if it's 1-on-1, but if it's 5-on-1, she won't dare to fight with us unless she has nothing better to do. Does she really think that we are meat on the chopping block? If she dares to come, we will kill her, drink her blood, eat her flesh, peel her skin, and break her bones. She will never be reincarnated. The 5 monsters laughed loudly. Their individual strength was not bad, and their battle prowess could reach the limit of a mid-level divine lord. When the 5 of them worked together, they could even kill a high-level divine lord. Moreover, it was impossible to escape when fighting against them, because there would always be 1 or 2 of them holding you back. This kind of team of experts was the kind of team that middle-level participants did not want to meet the most. Even if they had many treasures and could be said to be a walking treasure trove, they had to first consider whether they had the strength to take them. Swish! A blade slashed across the sky, and boundless killing intent suddenly appeared. Snowflakes flew everywhere, and the mountain peak shook violently. The 5 monsters, who were gathered together, were caught off guard. Suddenly, a giant triangle appeared in the sky, and a shocking spatial energy surged out, as if it had torn a big hole in space. Overflowing massacre. Lin Feng, who was wrapped in a thick black aura, turned into a killing god, and charged forward with calamity in his hand. He did not show any fear. So what if it was 1 against 5? Lin Feng was never afraid of group battles. After a fierce battle, 3 of the 5 monsters were killed, and 2 were severely injured. No matter how confident they were before, when they really faced death, they fled separately. Otherwise, they might have been able to make Lin Feng pay a price. But now, Lin Feng was only slightly injured, and he killed 3 of the 5 monsters. The remaining 2 monsters had stronger life-saving abilities, and Lin Feng could not do much. He could only let them escape. My spatial attainments are too weak. If I were stronger in this aspect, like Li Kongxiu, I would not have let so many prey escape. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. In these 10,000 years, who knew how many prey had escaped from his hands? Every time he won, the other party would only want to escape, and he could not stop them. This caused his profits to decrease by a lot. After Li Kongxiu, he had not obtained a large sum of money. Basically, all of them were small fish and shrimps, not enough to reach the apex. Generally, one could roughly know their wealth just by looking at the mark on their left hand. Only those with virtual green cores would have some wealth. Only those with virtual blue cores would be considered rich. Because those who could activate virtual blue cores will be able to enter the 5th level of the treasure trove. Their killing ability would definitely be strong, and they would naturally have more treasures on them. Li Kongxiu had 8 virtual blue cores. The 3 I killed are not bad. All of them have virtual blue cores, worth looking forward to. Let's see. Lin Feng counted his wealth and nodded with satisfaction. The 3 monsters had a total of more than 100,000 cosmos crystals. After Li Kongxiu, this was the first time he had obtained so much. Including their virtual blue cores, I have a total of 24 virtual blue cores on me now. It's still early. When the time comes, I will go to the other 6 ordinary secret realms. Maybe I can gather 110 virtual blue cores and activate the 7th level of the treasure trove. Lin Feng thought in his heart. The treasures on the 7th level of the treasure trove started from 1 million cosmos crystals, and it was the most expensive. Among them, a bottle of Universe Spring of Life was in the 7th level of the treasure trove, because its exchange price was 1 million cosmos crystals. Chapter 2361. 7th Mercenary Alliance, 5th time Virtual Realm Monitoring Room. Chief Judge Wang and Chief Judge Li were checking the score information that had just been sent to them. It was Lin Feng, whom they were quite concerned about. It was submitted by a single senior inspector once every 10,000 years. His score is quite high, Chief Judge Wang said with a smile. Isn't this expected? Of course, he has a high score since he killed Li Kongxiu. Chief Judge Li squinted his eyes. Chief Judge Wang said, "The good news is that he is not stagnant. Instead, he continues to improve. Compared to 10,000 years ago, his combat power is estimated to have increased by 10%. Increased by 10% in 10,000 years? Oh, not bad," Chief Judge Li said in surprise. The higher one's combat power was, the harder it was to increase it, especially since Lin Feng was now one of the best in the 5th time virtual realm. It was even more difficult for him to increase his strength. Chief Judge Wang nodded. He has mastered all aspects of the Heavenly Path Cardinal Treasure. His saber techniques and secret techniques have improved. He is also more confident. Not long ago, he killed the 5 demons of Jing Yu's Shang lineage. 3 of them died, and 2 of them were severely injured. Tisk tisk. Chief Judge Li touched his nose and praised. He dared to fight against 5 demons alone. He is courageous. With his current strength, he can basically do whatever he wants in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Not yet, Chief Judge Wang said. He has to go through the 10 crippled wolves first. Chief Judge Li said, "I almost forgot about them." Chief Judge Wang nodded. "Actually, it's almost time. We can consider putting Lin Feng in the preliminary special class genius list." Yes, he is the 4th preliminary special class genius, Chief Judge Li agreed. The 10 crippled wolves. The Bright Sky Secret Realm was the most notorious. Its methods were cruel and unruly. The 10 crippled demonic wolves formed a small alliance. Each of them had the combat power of a middle-level almighty. 3 of them even had the combat power of an upper-level almighty. When the 10 crippled wolves gathered together, they were truly invincible in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. Even Nightmare Puppet, who was the most powerful of the 4 great experts, didn't want to fight with them. As the saying goes, you will meet the wolf in the mountain. Lin Feng had been wandering around the Bright Sky Mystic Realm for 10,000 years. It was hard not to encounter the 10 crippled wolves, even if he did not want to. This was truly a head-on clash. 10 against 1. Furthermore, they were the same race, and they were proficient in teamwork. Their combat prowess was more than 10 times stronger than the 5 fiends from the Shang lineage. They were unrivaled in the bright sky secret realm. Almost none of the prey that they had set their eyes on could escape. Die! The heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader's lightning-fast claw tore through Lin Feng's defense. The 2 heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commanders behind it, one on the left and one on the right. They worked very well together and attacked Lin Feng's blind spot. Ow! The remaining 7 heaven-crippling demonic wolves gathered from all directions and formed the 3rd wave of attack. At this moment, Lin Feng had already retreated to the point of no return. Facing the situation of death, a light suddenly flickered on his forehead, revealing an eye that was filled with flowing colors and illusory light. It seemed as if it possessed boundless magical power that absorbed everything. It was a high-grade heavenly Tao, cardinal treasure, phantom countercurrent eye. Lin Feng turned into a phantom and passed by the heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader's side. The heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader, who had been hit by the time reversal secret technique, reacted a little slower and stopped its attack. Many phantoms flashed, and Lin Feng's figure became extremely ghostly. Even though the heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader was the biggest threat, it was the only weakness. Once Xiao Chun moved forward, he would be surrounded by the other 7 heaven-crippling demonic wolves. Even if he could kill 2 or 3 of them, he would only be able to buy time. He would not be able to shake off the encirclement. However, it was different now. Bang! Lin Feng took the heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commander's attack head-on. Blood splattered everywhere. The War Saber Calamity attacked with a backhand attack. The heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commander kept howling, and blood splattered everywhere. Screech! The heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commander's attack arrived in the blink of an eye. However, its head exploded, and it froze on the spot. Its attack became sluggish, and a cold light flashed before its eyes. It was directly killed without being able to fight back. The Fiend Race's soul defense was not strong to begin with, not to mention being hit by a soul attack at such a close distance. Even if they did not die, they would be severely injured. Ow! The heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader, who had recovered from the time reversal state, was furious. It attacked ferociously, injuring Lin Feng and forcing him to retreat. However, a huge triangle appeared in front of him, and bursts of spatial energy exploded. Bang! 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 Lin Feng executed his killing move. Of the 2 heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commanders, one was killed, and the other was heavily injured. Only the heaven demonic wolf leader was left. It wanted to chase after Lin Feng, but he had already disappeared. I escaped. Lin Feng let out a long breath. After eating the heaven and earth fruit, his body recovered rapidly. In this narrow path battle, his injuries were not light. Just like what Chu Yuzi had said, the most terrifying thing in the Bright Sky secret territory was not the nightmare puppet, but the powerful strength of the alliance of the 10 participants. They had an absolute advantage when fighting against the few. Phantom Countercurrent Eye, using it once, is equivalent to throwing away 15,000 cosmos crystals. Even though Lin Feng was extremely rich now, he still felt heartache. Plus, the Phantom Countercurrent Eye could only be used twice. Right now, there was only one last time left, and he could not use it again. The effect was extremely good. Just now, he even had the hope of killing the heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader. But in that situation, even if he succeeded in killing the heaven-crippling demonic wolf leader, he would be heavily surrounded. It was not worth it to exchange a life for a life. Next time, even though Lin Feng was heavily injured, he had a strong desire to kill the 10 heaven-crippling demonic wolf alliance members. This time, he killed one of them. Next time, he would kill the remaining 9. He did not waste the past 10,000 years. Not only did his battle strength increase by 10%, but he also had good comprehension in all aspects. It is time to go into closed-door training. I need to properly grasp the gains I have gained in these 10,000 years. The next time I come out, I will become even stronger. Lin Feng disappeared and left. Time Virtual Company top-notch intelligent cabin. In the fifth time, in the control room, a group of members sighed. The eyes of the group leader, He Quan, were flickering with light. Well done. He Quan slapped the table and stood up. His eyes were filled with admiration. Unfortunately, we still lost. Li Mei, a member, said regretfully, Isn't it normal to lose? When the nightmare puppets first entered, they met them and lost too. Yes, I remember it clearly. Lin Feng's performance was much better than the nightmare puppets at the same time. He even killed one of the heaven-crippling demonic wolf vice commanders. Not only did he successfully escape, but he also killed one of his opponents and heavily injured the other. Amazing. The members of the group were full of praises. This human youth, Lin Feng, was not eye-catching at the beginning, but as time went on, he became more and more shocking. His performance on the battlefield was very mature and did not match his age at all. It made people gasp in amazement. What can't kill him will only make him stronger. He Quan's eyes were bright. Li Kongqiu was like this before, and now the 10 heaven-crippling demonic wolves are also like this. I believe that not long later, even the nightmare puppets will not be his opponent. This talent, our time virtual company must have him. Chapter 2362. It was time to go into seclusion. Lin Feng already had this plan. Not only did he need to comprehend the 10,000 years of accumulation, but he also lacked a very important treasure, a control-type, restriction-type treasure. In the battles in the Bright Sky Secret Realm, he was stronger than his opponents, but they always managed to escape. Firstly, he didn't have a suitable treasure. Secondly, he didn't have enough space attainments. Among the treasures I have, the most suitable one is the Wu Di Universe Ring, a space-type control treasure. The second is the Sky I Domain. Lin Feng checked all the spoils, one in his left hand and one in his right. Both were mid-level space-type Heavenly Dao treasures. One belonged to Li Kongqiu, and the other belonged to Jing Yu's Shang lineage. They were also the two main sources of his spoils of war. The Bright Sky Secret Realm was a space-type secret realm, and it was full of space energy. Besides, he had the bloodline talent like the Black Whirlpool, and space-type treasures were good at control and restriction. Therefore, it was best to choose a space-type treasure that was compatible with him. At the same time, he could improve his space attainments. I already have the Blood Demon River, but I still haven't fully comprehended it. It'll be troublesome to change to a space-type domain. It'll waste a lot of effort. Also, space-type treasures are harder to control than ordinary Heavenly Dao treasures. Besides, space-type treasures focus more on the competition during battle. If the opponent insists on escaping, the domain won't be effective. By the time my domain is fully released, the opponent might have disappeared. The Wu Di Universe Ring is the most direct. First Smash, second Trap, and third Titan. It has a complete set of attack methods, a long attack range, and easy to use. I don't need to fully comprehend it. The second level of the secret technique will be effective, and it can trap at least 30 to 50% of the mid-level competitors who escape. This is it. Lin Feng quickly made his decision. Mastering a control-type Heavenly Dao treasure was something that had always been in front of him. It was an urgent matter, because without such a supreme treasure, who knew how many intermediate-level competitors had already escaped? That was a real loss. Fortunately, he had already gotten the most spoils of war. For example, Li Kongqiu and Jing Yu's Shang lineage had more than 400,000 cosmos crystals, which was more than all the other mid-level competitors combined. Apart from Emperor Wu's Universe Ring, the remaining one is the second calamity of the Light and Darkness Secret Arts, 3 calamities of annihilation. Fallen Comprehension has reached perfection and created the 4th move of the Milky Way blade technique. The 10 crippled wolves are nothing to fear. He wasn't good at defense, so he didn't need to defend. He was going to use the most direct, fastest, and fiercest attacks to carve out a bloody path with a saber in his hand. That day, it was the same for Li Kongqiu. Today, it was the same for the 10 crippled wolves. He cultivated in seclusion. Lin Feng enjoyed this feeling very much. 10,000 years of killing had accumulated too much comprehension, including blade techniques, secret techniques, and the 9 heavens of light and darkness. He could faintly understand what his ancestor had said in the Wanqian path, and his understanding of the 9 heavens of light and darkness deepened day by day. With the advancement of the 9 heavens of light and darkness, his comprehension of the secret method of light and darkness also became more profound. The light and darkness secret technique was created based on the 9 heavens of light and darkness. The second calamity, fallen, could be cultivated in the second heaven of light and darkness. If one cultivated in the third heaven of light and darkness, the cultivation speed and comprehension speed would be twice the result with half the effort. But if one cultivated in the second heaven of light and darkness, although the cultivation speed was much slower, the effort put in would not be wasted. When reaching perfection, it also meant that the comprehension of the 9 heavens of light and darkness had greatly increased. This was a two-sided and positive sublimation. It's time to create the fourth move of the Milky Way blade technique. Lin Feng struck while the iron was hot and didn't stop for a moment. The second calamity, fallen, took a total of 5,500 years to go from great success to perfection. The creation of the blade technique took even longer. 8,000 years, 10,000 years, 15,000 years. Rumble. Rumble. The sky fell and the earth cracked and the whole mountain collapsed. A human figure holding the saber calamity stood with his head held high. The terrifying saber radiance gathered tyrannical power, and there was a kind of condescending aura. Finally, I succeeded. In the 28,900 year of the Advanced Standard Survival Challenge, Lin Feng finally opened the clouds and saw the moon. He created his own blade technique. Compared to the third move, Monstrous Slaughter, the attack was more direct, and the power was more clear. In comparison, Monstrous Slaughter's attack speed was faster, and it paid more attention to the microscopic details. But the newly created fourth move was more violent and violent, like a huge mountain pressing down, sweeping away everything in its path, and focused on momentum. Since it was created based on the light and darkness secret technique Fallen, it is called Fallen Landslide. The saber calamity in Lin Feng's hand was high and lofty. They had fought side by side for tens of thousands of years, and the connection between them was much more complicated than before. The second level of the secret space pattern showed a faint light. The second level, Subdue, was a 7th rank secret space technique. Oh, Lin Feng was also surprised. The saber calamity, which he had no clue about, reacted when he created the fourth move of the Milky Way blade technique, Fallen Landslide. It was as if a channel and connection had been established between them, and it went straight to the depths of his soul. What a pleasant surprise. The saber calamity has 3 levels of secret space patterns, and the second level, Subdue, is a control-type technique. If it is combined with Emperor Wu's universe ring, the 2 control-type techniques will work together, and the killing efficiency will be much higher. Especially the saber calamity, which is the most direct way to unleash its power in close combat, making it impossible to guard against. When the time comes, it will be too late to escape. In the Bright Sky secret realm, there was gradually no news of the Calamity Saber Monarch. The Advanced Standard Survival Challenge only lasted for 100,000 years. Lin Feng had disappeared for 30,000 years, and the experts in the Bright Sky secret realm had changed batch after batch. The old had left, and the new had entered. Without any achievements, one would naturally be forgotten. Only a few experts still remembered the existence of the Calamity Saber Monarch, who held the Saber Calamity and dared to face the 10 crippled wolves head-on, and successfully came out alive. Other than the Nightmare Puppet, there was only the Calamity Saber Monarch. The Nightmare Puppet's time is not up yet. Soon. Like the 10 crippled wolves, he is in the last 10,000 years, but I don't know when exactly. These 2 fiends should leave quickly. They have occupied the entire Bright Sky secret realm, and no one dares to move. Bear with it a little longer. It's almost time. Okay. The 10 crippled wolves were notorious in the Bright Sky secret realm. All the participants of the Intermediate Standard Survival Challenge were terrified. They did not dare to go near the crippled wolf valley. It was said that the place where the 10 crippled wolves cultivated in seclusion. Even a strong nightmare puppet would die if they entered. But today, a human youth had stepped into this forbidden area. With a saber in his hand, he was alone and fearless. Chapter 2363. The 10 crippled wolves are dead. No way. How is that possible? It's true. Someone found their bodies in the Sky Wolf Valley. Their bodies were full of saber scars, and none of them escaped. Oh my God, what happened? Who did it? There were no secrets in the Bright Sky secret realm. Soon, the news spread like wildfire. The tyrannical 10 crippled wolves died in their own territory 10,000 years before they were about to reach the advanced standard title. No one survived under the saber. The death of the cruel 10 crippled wolves had become an unsolved mystery in the Bright Sky secret realm. Taoist Mountain. Boom, boom. Lin Feng held the saber calamity in his hand and fought with an ugly, scarred, and huge Demon Clan expert. Calamity had already activated the second layer of inscriptions, and the spatial restraints kept increasing. With the control of the first layer of inscriptions, the power of light and darkness blended perfectly. The power of the saber technique was getting stronger and stronger, and it completely suppressed the opponent. If anyone saw this, they would be dumbfounded, because this ugly, muscular Demon Clan expert was the strongest of the 4 experts in the Bright Sky secret realm, the Nightmare Demon Skeleton. But now he was being beaten. Calamity Saber King, so it's you? The Nightmare Demon Skeleton bared his teeth and looked ferocious. There was deep fear in his eyes. You killed the 10 crippled wolves. It must be you. I've never denied it. Lin Feng's saber attacks became fiercer and fiercer. His light and darkness bloodline had been activated to the extreme, and a trace of the 3rd level of light and darkness concept was used to attack. Milky Way saber technique, falling mountain collapse. Boom, boom, boom. Overbearing and majestic saber aura completely suppressed the Nightmare Demon Skeleton, causing him to be defeated repeatedly. No matter how strong his body was and how experienced he was, the Nightmare Demon Skeleton was powerless. Clang! The Nightmare Demon Skeleton resisted tenaciously. In the face of Lin Feng's tyrannical strength, he was the only one in the Bright Sky secret realm who could resist until now. However, he was also an arrow at the end of its flight. Boom! Lin Feng attacked from above and below, using the ultimate ability of the Bermuda Triangle. As he shattered the Nightmare Devil Puppet's defenses, he threw out the Wu Di Universe ring in his hand. It instantly expanded in the air, condensing and contracting the spatial energy. Trap! Lin Feng's voice reverberated in the Nightmare Puppet's ears. The Nightmare Puppet roared, and golden light erupted from its body, transforming into a palace to protect itself. Almost instantly, the Nightmare Puppet fled in panic. Trying to run, Lin Feng's soul attack exploded. The 7th layer of the Kuan Ling Heart arrow pierced through the palace's defenses, directly smashing into the Nightmare Puppet's sea of consciousness. The Nightmare Puppet, whose soul wasn't its forte, let out a miserable howl. Its injuries were beyond repair. The entire Golden Palace shook violently. Without the Nightmare Puppet's control, its power was greatly reduced. The Black Vortex condensed a powerful spatial energy, and the Great Triangle Destruction broke through the palace's defenses and penetrated straight in. Lin Feng sped down, and Calamity slashed down. Poochie! Blood splattered everywhere, and a strange doll shattered in the void, but the Nightmare Devil Puppet was nowhere to be seen. He still managed to escape. Lin Feng looked into the distance and shook his head. Death Doll, a special type high-grade Heavenly Dao cardinal treasure, can withstand a sure kill attack. His attack, just now, did not exceed the limits of the Death Doll, so he was unable to kill the Nightmare Puppet. What a pity. If my soul attack could kill it directly, the Death Doll would have no effect. Although Lin Feng felt that it was a pity, he didn't take it to heart. After all, he won, didn't he? He just lost a bit of wealth. In the Bright Sky secret realm, for nearly 100,000 years, the Nightmare Devil Puppet had accumulated a considerable amount of wealth. It seems that this wealth doesn't belong to me. Lin Feng smiled casually. He didn't care too much about it. The Nightmare Devil Puppet had been at the top of the Bright Sky Secret Realm for a long time, so it was not that easy to kill it. It's about time. I'm invincible in the Bright Sky Secret Realm. There's no point in staying any longer. It's time to go to the other 6 ordinary secret realms. I believe there will be many experts with the same strength as the Nightmare Devil Puppet there. In the Time Virtual Company's top-notch intelligent cabin. Ha! A square-faced man stood up, and the chair behind him fell. He stared at the screen with his eyes wide open, and his breathing seemed to have stopped. He couldn't believe it. The Nightmare Devil Puppet lost. Impossible. Chung Weigua, the person in charge of the 5th Time Virtual Company, was dumbfounded. If it wasn't for the Death Doll, the Nightmare Devil Puppet would have died in Lin Feng's hands. The human youth Lin Feng, this human youth, whom he used to look down on completely, exploded with extremely terrifying strength. Perhaps his current performance wasn't enough for him to be called a special-grade genius, but he wasn't far from it. Every special-grade genius was highly sought after, and the 5 great leaders would fight over them. Stupid. I'm so stupid. Chung Weigua clenched his fists, and his brows were deeply furrowed. He almost missed such a genius. Fortunately, Quan had sharp eyes and didn't miss it. After letting out a long sigh, Chung Weigua shook his head and sighed. He was really getting old. He had to admit that his current judgment was a bit outdated. Luckily, Lin Feng probably doesn't know about my evaluation of him in the past. There's not much difference. Previously, Quan tried to recruit him and left a good impression. Damn it, those bastards from the 7th Mercenary Alliance will definitely make a move. We tried to recruit him once before, and according to the rules, this time it's the 7th Mercenary Alliance's turn. They're not interested, so it's our turn. Chung Weigua was furious. There was a huge difference between 1st and 2nd. If he could see Lin Feng's performance, the 7th Mercenary Alliance would definitely see it too. How could they not be interested? A newcomer with incomparable potential close to a special-grade genius. Any force would sincerely recruit him. If I had known, I would have gone personally the first time. Perhaps this good seedling is now our Time Virtual Company's. Sigh. Chung Weigua rubbed his head, feeling a trace of helplessness. Right now, the decision was no longer in their hands. Bright Sky Secret Realm. The Nightmare Devil Puppet is heavily injured. No way, who did it? It's the Tribulation Saber King. The Tribulation Saber King is back. I saw it with my own eyes. The Tribulation Saber King killed the Nightmare Devil Puppet to the point where it couldn't even fight back. In the end, the Nightmare Devil Puppet had to rely on the Death Doll to survive. Is that true? The Tribulation Saber King is that powerful? It's absolutely true. The 10 crippled wolves must have died under the Tribulation Saber King's blade. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Moreover, the Bright Sky Secret Realm was not big, and the intermediate standard participants were all very powerful. The entire Bright Sky Secret Realm was filled with legends of the Tribulation Saber King. While the experts sighed, they were also terrified. What a joke, an expert who could kill the 10 crippled wolves and the Nightmare Devil Puppet. How terrifying was that? They would hide as far as they could. However, what they didn't know was that the Tribulation Saber King they were talking about, Lin Feng, had already left the Bright Sky Secret Realm and started a new journey. Chapter 2364. A new journey had begun. Aurora Secret Realm, Hurricane Secret Realm, Raging Thunder Secret Realm, Massive Earth Secret Realm, Dark Slaughter Secret Realm. Lin Feng entered the secret realms according to the order on the map and obtained the mission items. The difficulty of the 5 upper law secret realms was much easier than the Bright Sky Secret Realm and Luoshi Secret Realm. The strongest intermediate standard participant was only at the level of Li Kongxiu. None of them were comparable to the Nightmare Puppet. Lin Feng wouldn't be courteous and swept through the secret realms. He stayed in each secret realm for close to 4,000 years and spent 20,000 years on the journey. He killed until the 5 secret realms were in a tragic state. The accumulation of treasures was increasing day by day. He had more than 41 virtual blue cores. His total wealth exceeded 2 million cosmos crystals. Lin Feng's current gains had already far exceeded his initial expectations, but this was within reason. His strength completely crushed Shun Shi's, causing him to be able to get whatever he wanted, and he was invincible. This was also Lin Feng's previous goal. Among the intermediate standard participants, he had reached the pinnacle. There's only one left. Lin Feng arrived at the Luoshi secret realm. This was a time-secret realm that was as famous as the Bright Sky secret realm. There were no weaker experts than the Bright Sky secret realm. The only difference was that the experts in the Bright Sky secret realm were proficient in the Tao of space, while the experts in the Luoshi secret realm were proficient in the Tao of time. The two heavenly laws represented two different cultivation directions. Using the space law to become a paragon was the space paragon. Using the time law to become a paragon was the time paragon. Of course, this wasn't the only way to become a paragon. It was the simplest and most effective way to become a paragon with the heavenly laws. I'm here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He wasn't afraid of the top experts in the Luoshi secret realm because the time energy was compatible with him. Now, the black whirlpool absorbed both the space and time energy. The only difference was that the experts in the Luoshi secret realm were proficient in the Tao of time, which he couldn't deal with. But because of this, it was more challenging. The 7th Mercenary Alliance. Tisk TSK. This kid is really crazy. Every time he goes to a secret realm, he challenges it. Isn't he afraid of spraining his back? Chief Judge Wang looked at the huge screen in front of him calmly. He has entered the Luoshi mystic realm. There is only one special class genius there, Chief Judge Li said. As judges, their main job was to carry out the final judgment. Apart from that, they also had to take over the supervision of the special genius trainee. The so-called reserve special geniuses were geniuses whose potential was at level 1, but they were already very close to becoming a special genius. Perhaps they could make a breakthrough in a certain ability or awaken a certain bloodline, and they could become a special genius. Lin Feng was a special grade genius in preparation. There were 3 reserve special class geniuses like Lin Feng. One was in the luminous sky secret realm, the white-winged angel In Shi. One was in the raging thunder secret realm, the summoning thunder white bone dragon. And one was in the Luoshi secret realm, the moon demon sword Fei Qing. As for the super geniuses who truly met the strict standards set by the 2 giants, there was only one of them among the intermediate standard titles, Son of Time, Sikong Wushuang. Of course, this was only the number of special class geniuses among the intermediate standard titles. There were still many special class geniuses among the advanced standard and the pinnacle standard. After all, the intermediate standard was only 100,000 years. The advanced standard was 1,000,000 years, while the pinnacle standard was 10 million years. With more time, the number of special class geniuses would naturally increase. Oldly, do you think he's a match for Sima Wushuang? Chief Judge Wang asked. In terms of true combat strength, Fei Qing and Nightmare Qi are on par. One is proficient in time, while the other is proficient in space. This human Lin Feng has the space bloodline and is like a fish in water in the luminous sky secret realm. However, once he enters the Luoshi secret realm, he will probably be restricted. His true combat strength is slightly better than Fei Qing, but he might not be as good as Fei Qing in the Luoshi secret realm. Not to mention Sikong Wushuang. In terms of true combat strength, Sikong Wushuang is worthy of being called the strongest among the intermediate standard contestants. Speaking of which, with his and Fei Qing's talent, they might not be special class geniuses during the intermediate standard titles, but they will have a great chance during the advanced standard titles. And I think so too. Sikong Wushuang is a super newbie that appears once in 10,000 years. He is our primary target. We must not lose to the Time Virtual Company. As for Fei Qing or Lin Feng, it will be fine as long as we can get one of them. It will be a little difficult. In terms of benefits, the Time Virtual Company is willing to spend more than us. Let's do our best. We also have our own advantages. Lin Feng entered the Luoshi secret realm. This place was the same as the luminous sky secret realm. Wanted to find a passage to enter the depths. In fact, every ordinary secret realm was the same. It was mainly to separate the beginner standard contestants and the intermediate standard contestants. On one hand, it was to give the beginner standard contestants some protection. On the other hand, it was to give the powerful beginner standard contestants a chance to challenge someone of a higher level. If they could kill an intermediate standard contestant, the beginner standard contestants would reap great benefits. Look, it's an intermediate standard contestant. That's not right. His aura is so weak. His life rating is clearly only at the intermediate heaven god realm. He must have hidden himself to reach the intermediate standard. Haha, we are really lucky to encounter such a weakling. Second brother, third brother, let's do it. Swish, swish, swish. In the Luosher secret realm, there are 3 more corpses. Their eyes widened in shock and disbelief. Killing an intermediate standard contestant might indeed reap great benefits, but at the same time, the corresponding risk was also quite great. You would never know how terrifying the strength of an intermediate standard contestant would be. Sweeping along the way. To Lin Feng, the Luosher secret realm was no different from the other 5 ordinary secret realms. After dominating the luminous sky secret realm, he didn't take the initiative to kill any beginner standard contestants. After all, with his current status, if he were to kill a beginner standard contestant whose strength was 1 level lower, it would be bullying the weak. But if the other party provoked him recklessly, Lin Feng wouldn't be polite. He wasn't a soft-hearted person. As for the intermediate standard contestants, he would kill whoever he saw. Even if he didn't make a move, the other party would make a move. This was the most unwritten rule of the Time Void Realm Survival Challenge. Kill, survive. I'm here. With the experience of 6 ordinary secret realms, Lin Feng quickly found the passage and entered the depths of the Luosher secret realm. The abundant time energy made the black vortex very happy. It was as if he had returned to the luminous sky secret realm. The Tao of Time. In terms of cultivation, space is more compatible with the physical body, while time is more compatible with the soul. Actually, my time talent might be above space. Lin Feng smiled. However, he didn't have time to ponder about the Tao of Time now. What he needed to do now was to complete the final mission and challenge the remaining experts among the intermediate standard contestants. Chapter 2365. In the depths of Luo Time secret realm. What Sikong Wushuang? What moon demon sword feiching? I, Yin Shi, prince of Devil Oak race, am the true proud son of heaven, a mere intermediate standard participant. Who dares to stop me? A devil race male with sickle-like arms laughed wildly. His body was covered in blood, and he stepped on the corpse of a human great being. Amidst his laughter, the surrounding time seemed to have slowed down. He wore high-grade Heaven Tao armor, and the Miliuo stone cup at his waist flickered with a bewitching luster. It was a high-grade domain-type Heaven Tao treasure. The most terrifying one was a pair of barbed halberd-type weapon. The 3 engravings were of the Tao of Time, and it was similarly a high-grade Heaven Tao treasure. He came from a famous sect, had astonishing bloodline talents, and had many treasures. Yin Shi indeed had the qualifications to be proud. But in the Time Void Domain Survival Challenge, all participants were equal. Chi. The battle blade slashed through the void, and the boundless killing intent transformed into sharp blade lights that pierced through the gap of time and attacked the devil race great being Yin Shi. The attack instantly started and was extremely fast. There were no superfluous words or useless moves. It was simple, with only one word, fight. After a long while, the Luo Time secret realm is really much richer than the other 5 secret realms. I've already earned a lot after entering the depths, and it's enough to compare with the 5 demons in the Bright Sky secret realm. Lin Feng counted his gains and was rather satisfied. A total of 200,000 cosmos crystals. Among them, the greatest gains were the 3 high-grade Heaven Tao treasures. Even though the armor was damaged, the weapons and domain-type treasures were still intact and could be sold for a relatively good price. Emperor Wu Universe Ring? Not a loss. Lin Feng laughed. It was because of this middle-grade Heaven Tao treasure that he was able to kill this devil race great being who had 3 high-grade Heaven Tao treasures. His survival ability was rather impressive, and if it was the previous him, he would have been able to escape. But this time, he was trapped by Emperor Wu Universe Ring and quickly killed. Actually, his Milieu Stone Cup is not bad. It is a time-type high-grade Heaven Dao treasure, and it is also a domain type. Lin Feng was fond of it, but he knew that it was difficult for him to be compatible with this treasure. His attainments in the Tao of Time were weaker than his attainments in the Tao of Space. Even this demon expert was unable to fully control this time domain heavenly Tao treasure. Otherwise, he might not have been able to win this battle. Continue. Lin Feng was very clear about his current situation. He had decent talent in light, darkness, time, and space. However, what was truly suitable for him now was simple. That was his ancestors' myriad heaven path. He cultivated the secret art of light and darkness, created his saber art, and comprehended the 9 heavens of light and darkness. Through constant battles, he could comprehend. The wolf is coming. After the Bright Sky Secret Realm, Lin Feng had also caused great waves in the Luoshi Secret Realm. Time energy was no different from spatial energy to the Black Vortex, so it was naturally like a fish in water. As for the experts who cultivated the Tao of Time that he had never encountered before, as he had been worried about, he had slowly accumulated experience with them. Lin Feng had never seen this type of opponent before. The other contestants had also never seen someone like Lin Feng. He was clearly a human, but he had a terrifying physique. He was clearly a close combat type, but his long-range attacks were so tyrannical. The most terrifying thing was that when he was in the mood to kill, he would suddenly launch a soul attack. It was comparable to a master who was proficient in the Tao of Soul. It was impossible to guard against. After obtaining the Wu Di Universe Ring, Lin Feng's battle results became more and more brilliant. Unless it was those with extremely strong life-saving abilities, ordinary opponents wouldn't be able to escape from his grasp. During the battle, his saber art was constantly improving, and his wealth was also constantly accumulating. We finally met. In the Time Virtual Company's top-notch intelligent cabin, He Quan and the members of the first group revealed looks of anticipation. This was a clash between 2 of the top-tier geniuses at this stage. Lin Feng, Moon Demon Sword Feiqing. In this batch of intermediate standard contestants, they were the 2 newcomers who were closest to being a special class genius. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Yeah, look at the other groups. They're all staring at the results. Leader, what do you think? He Quan crossed his arms in front of his chest. His lazy expression was swept away, and his eyes were bright. It was obvious that he was very interested in this match. If it was when they had just entered the Luoshi secret realm, perhaps the 2 of them might be evenly matched. But now, Lin Feng will definitely be able to defeat Moon Demon Sword Feiqing. Hua. As soon as he said that, the surroundings became noisy. He Quan didn't hide his voice, and the other groups also heard it clearly. On the other side, the group in charge of Moon Demon Sword Feiqing snorted coldly and was filled with disdain. This brat wants to defeat Feiqing? Dream on. If it was in the Bright Sky Secret Realm, he might have a chance. But this is the Luoshi Secret Realm. He will definitely lose. Feiqing will definitely win. If he loses, I will cut off my head and let you use it as a stool. Every group had a different contestant in charge, and their standpoints were also different. Many of the direct one-on-one clashes, especially between Class 1 geniuses, were especially eye-catching. Lin Feng and Feiqing. One of them was previously unknown and no one thought highly of him. But he rose up in the survival challenge and became a reserved special class genius step by step. As for Feiqing, he was completely different from Lin Feng. His name had already shaken the Xing Feng star boundary long ago. He was born in a famous clan and was the focus of everyone. He was a super genius who had high hopes for his sect and clan. After entering the Time Void Realm survival challenge, he didn't disappoint and was invincible. When he was at the intermediate standard title, he had even killed an expert at the advanced standard. His reputation was like thunder to the ears. The 2 big shots had frantically fought for him when he was at the elementary standard title, but they were all rejected by Feiqing. He wanted to become a special class genius and not a class 1 genius who was guaranteed entry. In the top-notch intelligent cabin, 10 groups of staff from the Time Virtual Company were staring at their respective screens, looking forward to this rare battle. Among them was the person in charge of the Time Virtual Company's fifth time Void Realm, Cheng Weigua. Fei Qing and Lin Feng were both talents that he wanted to recruit. One was arrogant and wanted to become a special class genius, while the other didn't catch his eye and missed out. Now that the two geniuses had met, Cheng Weigua's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Who was stronger? Cheng Weigua really wanted to know. This Lin Feng wouldn't be upset again, right? Cheng Weigua's eyebrows twitched slightly. He couldn't figure out the background of this unorthodox Lin Feng and had misjudged him time and time again. Now, he no longer had any confidence. On the surface, it was obvious that Fei Qing was much stronger. Moreover, his intermediate standard 100,000-year mission was nearing its end, while Lin Feng had only passed half of it. For a newbie with potential, 50,000 years of cultivation time would make a huge difference in strength. Most importantly, this was the Luo Time's secret realm and not the Bright Sky's secret realm. Just as he muttered in his heart, Cheng Weigua stared at the huge screen with his eyes wide open and his mouth wide open.